an error margin of 1 second. That's the precision achieved by an 11th century man calculating the length of the solar year without computers, telescopes, or calculators. Only intellect, observations, and mathematical intuition. While Europe was plunging into the Middle Ages, a Persian sage was solving cubic equations using methods that wouldn't be rediscovered for another 500 years. He created calendars more accurate than those used today. But the most incredible thing, between astronomical calculations and algebraic formulas, he found time to write poetry about wine, love, and the transience of existence. Omar Khayyam didn't just get ahead of his time, he shattered the very notion of what genius means. In an era when free thinking was punishable by death, he openly questioned dogmas and sought his own answers. His life is proof that science and poetry, logic and emotion can not only coexist, but strengthen each other. What did he understand about life that we don't? In this video, the most complete analysis of Omar Khayyam's philosophy and teachings. Get comfortable and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Part 1. Embrace the power of multidisciplinary learning. Omar Khayyam was a towering intellect whose mastery spanned multiple domains: mathematics, astronomy, philosophy, and poetry. Unlike the modern trend of deep specialization in a single field, Khayyam understood that true wisdom lies in recognizing the interconnectedness of knowledge. He saw the pursuit of understanding as a unified journey, where insight in one area could illuminate another. His approach to learning was revolutionary for his time and remains profoundly relevant today. Rather than restricting himself to one discipline, he pursued a broad, integrated education that reshaped the course of intellectual history. In mathematics, Khayyam made groundbreaking advances by solving cubic equations through geometric methods. He challenged and reinterpreted Euclid's fifth postulate, ideas that would not see serious scrutiny in Europe until centuries later. Long before Blaise Pascal, Khayyam also investigated mathematical structures resembling what we now know as Pascal's triangle. For him, mathematics was not merely theoretical. It was a powerful tool for making sense of the natural world. His achievements in astronomy are equally astonishing. Khayyam measured the length of the solar year with remarkable precision, calculating it as 365.421,858.156 days, differing from today's modern estimate by less than a single second. He also devised the Jalali calendar, a solar calendar with a highly accurate 33-year intercalation cycle, which continues to underpin the contemporary Persian calendar. That such precision was possible nearly 1,000 years ago, with limited instruments, speaks volumes about the depth of his scientific insight. His system even surpassed the accuracy of the Gregorian calendar, adopted later in Europe. Khayyam's intellectual reach extended far beyond the sciences. He wrote 6 philosophical essays that grappled with fundamental questions of existence and the nature of universal truths. The respected scholar Al-Zamakhshari bestowed upon him the title Philosopher of the World, acknowledging the depth and clarity of his reflections on the human condition. His philosophical writings mirrored the same rigorous logic found in his scientific work, but were directed toward life's profoundest questions: meaning, purpose, and the nature of being. And then there is his poetry. Khayyam's celebrated collection, the Rubaiyat, explores impermanence, joy, mortality, and existential longing. These were not idle verses. They were precise, thoughtful meditations on life's transient beauty. His poetry seamlessly wove together emotion and intellect, demonstrating how logical inquiry and poetic expression can coexist and enrich one another. The central insight from Khayyam's life is not merely his remarkable accomplishments across different fields. It's the idea that immersing oneself in varied disciplines fosters a deeper, more creative kind of thinking. Skills in one area can fertilize ideas in another. Mathematical precision can influence musical composition. Historical awareness can inform strategic decisions, and the study of visual arts can spark scientific discovery. Khayyam viewed mathematics as a reflection of divine order in the cosmos, illustrating how even technical knowledge can lead to spiritual revelation. Consider how this applies to your own path. If you're in the corporate world, engaging with literature or poetry could deepen your understanding of human motivations in ways no management guide ever could. If you're an artist, studying scientific principles might open new avenues for innovation. If you're a scientist, delving into philosophy could help you frame more meaningful questions and better appreciate their implications. For Khayyam, knowledge was not divided into isolated compartments. His work as an astronomer informed his mathematics. His mathematical rigor shaped his philosophy, and his philosophical insights enriched his poetry. Each discipline was a lens through which he refined his thinking in the others, creating a holistic understanding of the world that no single field could provide on its own. This integrative mindset allowed him to see connections and patterns that a narrow specialist might completely miss. In a time when we're often urged to specialize early and remain within that niche, Khayyam's example invites us to think differently. Cultivate curiosity that reaches beyond familiar borders. Seek out the relationships between seemingly unrelated fields and let each new discovery inform and evolve your perspective on the rest. Such a path doesn't dilute your focus, it intensifies it. It leads to a deeper, more layered understanding of both the external world and your inner self. By stepping beyond the confines of single-domain expertise, you open yourself to insights that only emerge when you perceive the rich, intricate web of knowledge as a unified whole. Part 2. Harnessing the Power of the Now. Few ideas from Omar Khayyam carry as much weight or feel as timeless as his persistent call to live fully in the present. In his Rubaiyat, he returns repeatedly to the impermanence of time, urging us not to postpone life. His reflections weren't simply poetic flourishes or philosophical abstractions. They were grounded, lucid responses to the fundamental nature of human existence. Khayyam grasped a reality that modern psychology has only recently begun to fully examine. He understood that our sense of happiness and fulfillment is directly tied to our ability to remain rooted in the present moment. His meditations on time's swift passage and life's inevitable end were never meant to provoke fear, but to jolt us awake to the importance of truly living. To Khayyam, the past was irretrievably gone, and the future remained unknowable. The now, however fleeting, was the only moment that belonged to us. This realization has the power to completely transform the way we approach our lives. Khayyam calls on us to stop deferring our engagement with life. One of his most celebrated quatrains captures this spirit perfectly. Resting under a tree with bread, wine, and a beloved companion, he finds a version of paradise in life's most immediate and simple pleasures. This isn't hedonism. It's a profound appreciation for the beauty that becomes visible when we're truly present. He cautions that we often miss the richness around us because our minds are elsewhere, fixated on what's to come or trapped in what has already passed. Reflect for a moment on how much of your own life has been consumed by striving for a distant happiness or replaying past mistakes, instead of embracing the moment in front of you. Khayyam's commitment to the present wasn't only poetic, it was reinforced by his scientific pursuits. As a gifted astronomer who accurately calculated the length of the solar year, he had an intimate awareness of time's precision and its constraints. Yet this knowledge didn't weigh him down. It heightened his appreciation for the fleeting nature of each moment. To Khayyam, conscious awareness itself was nothing short of extraordinary. To be fully present, even for a short while, was one of life's highest achievements. This outlook becomes even more profound when we consider the turbulent times in which he lived. He existed in an era marked by political upheaval, religious conflict, and societal instability. Despite this, he chose not to withdraw or grow cynical. Instead, he sought out joy and meaning in the world around him. He created his own form of paradise not by escaping reality, but by engaging with it through friendship, beauty, intellectual curiosity, and small, everyday pleasures. What he grasped instinctively is now validated by modern neuroscience. When we are anchored in the present, our brains function at their peak. Stress decreases, emotional balance improves, and creative thinking thrives. And yet, Khayyam didn't have access to modern research or technology. His wisdom came from direct experience. He recognized that presence isn't a strategy. It's the very essence of wisdom itself. The quality of our attention determines the quality of our lives. Integrating this understanding into daily life takes conscious effort. Each day, carve out a moment to ground yourself in your immediate surroundings. Observe what you see. Listen closely to the sounds around you. Notice the smells and textures. As you move through your day, make a habit of returning to the present moment, rather than allowing yourself to be swept up in worry or regret. When you eat, truly taste your food. When you engage in conversation, give the other person your undivided attention. When you walk, feel the contact between your feet and the earth. These seemingly small acts of awareness can transform ordinary moments into deeply meaningful ones, bringing with them true peace, insight, and joy. Part 3. Question everything, even your own beliefs. Omar Khayyam lived in a time marked by strict religious orthodoxy and deep-rooted social conformity, yet he remained unwavering in his dedication to independent thought. He continually challenged prevailing norms and dogmas, often at great personal cost. His life serves as a striking testament to intellectual courage and the relentless pursuit of honest inquiry. Khayyam understood that truth is not something inherited from tradition or dictated by authority. Instead, it must be discovered through rigorous critical thinking, careful observation, and a willingness to change one's perspective in light of new evidence. This devotion to truth fueled both his groundbreaking scientific work and the controversy he stirred within his cultural and religious milieu. In his poetry, he boldly confronted widely accepted ideas about the afterlife, divine justice, and human destiny. His skepticism wasn't born from a desire to rebel, but from a deep-seated need for coherence between belief and reason. He refused to accept claims that could not withstand rational scrutiny or be confirmed by direct experience. This principled commitment to intellectual honesty was dangerous in his historical context, but for Khayyam, fidelity to truth was worth more than societal approval or personal safety. Some accounts suggest he may have been accused of heresy, but he never compromised his convictions to conform to public expectation. Khayyam's contributions to science reflected this same spirit of critical independence. In mathematics, he went beyond the accepted frameworks of his day, inventing innovative methods to solve intricate equations. In astronomy, dissatisfied with the inaccuracies of existing calendars, he dedicated years to careful empirical observation, leading to the development of more precise systems. Rather than simply accepting the conclusions of earlier authorities, he rigorously tested them against his own findings and reasoning. This attitude also shaped his philosophical exploration. Though he studied with followers of the eminent philosopher Avicenna, Khayyam did not adopt their teachings uncritically. He carved out his own intellectual path, drawing insights from multiple disciplines and thinking for himself about the most profound questions of existence. Khayyam believed no thinker, no matter how esteemed, was above error. Each generation, he felt, had the responsibility to think independently and reassess inherited assumptions. To question what we've been taught demands the humility to accept our own fallibility and the strength to face the discomfort that often comes with challenging deeply held beliefs. True intellectual humility reveals the limits of our understanding, while emotional courage empowers us to bear the consequences of thinking differently. He faced the solitude that often accompanies independent thinking and the backlash from those whose worldviews he disrupted. Yet he knew the cost of living by unexamined beliefs was far greater, a betrayal of the intellect's true calling. In our own age, his message is perhaps more urgent than ever. We are surrounded by a torrent of information where opinions, ideologies, and half-truths compete for our attention from every direction. In such a world, it's easy to either accept ideas blindly or dismiss everything with cynicism. But Khayyam offers a more thoughtful alternative: to evaluate each idea with discernment, guided by logic and evidence. This involves learning to ask better, deeper questions. Instead of wondering whether a belief aligns with our current views or feels familiar, we should ask whether it can withstand careful examination and is grounded in credible evidence. Instead of relying on the authority of a source, we must examine whether its reasoning holds up. Instead of rejecting ideas because they make us uncomfortable or disrupt our assumptions, we should consider whether they might actually expand our perspective. For Khayyam, critical thinking was not just about challenging external authorities. It was also about turning that same lens inward. What beliefs about meaning, happiness, love, or success have you inherited from your family, culture, or society without deeply questioning them? If you had been born in another time or place, would you still believe the same things? These questions are often unsettling, but it is precisely that discomfort that leads to deeper wisdom and a more authentic life. Part 4. The Harmony of Reason and Emotion. Omar Khayyam possessed a rare and extraordinary gift, the ability to unite the precision of analytical thought with the richness of emotional and spiritual depth. He was not a cold, dispassionate intellectual who dismissed human feeling, nor was he a purely sentimental soul indifferent to logic. Instead, he embodied a profound equilibrium between rational insight and heartfelt experience. Khayyam demonstrated that intellect and emotion are not opposing forces. Rather, they can support and enhance one another to create a more profound comprehension of life and a more authentic way of living. This integration was what made him a brilliant scholar and an equally evocative poet. He showed that one can think with sharp clarity while also feeling with deep intensity. As a mathematician and astronomer, he tackled intricate problems through disciplined methodology, keen observation, and unwavering focus. His significant contributions to solving cubic equations were the fruit of relentless experimentation and systematic reasoning over many years. Similarly, his astronomical studies demanded rigorous logic and a steadfast dedication to observable truth. Khayyam understood that certain truths only become apparent through deliberate, structured inquiry, and that while emotions hold great value, they can mislead when not guided by thoughtful reasoning. Yet, through his poetry, we see another facet of his character, a man deeply connected to his inner world, unafraid to express vulnerability, wonder, love, and grief. His reflections on the transient nature of life were not just intellectually profound, they carried a potent emotional weight. When he wrote of human connection, earthly beauty, or the mystery of existence, he drew not from theory, but from genuine emotional experience. Khayyam recognized that pure intellect without the warmth of feeling could lead to a detached and barren worldview. His genius stemmed from refusing to divide the mind from the heart. His scientific awareness of the universe's vastness did not leave him jaded. Instead, it deepened his emotional appreciation for life's delicate beauty and the fleeting nature of our experiences. His ability to find wonder in life, to value friendship and fleeting moments of joy, fueled his desire to understand the world more clearly. He didn't compartmentalize logic and emotion. He allowed them to inform each other, resulting in a fuller, richer engagement with life. This delicate integration was especially evident in his philosophical inquiries. When he challenged ideas about fate or the afterlife, he did so not from cold skepticism or reactive emotion, but from a thoughtful balance of rational critique and sincere emotional reflection. His doubts stemmed from both a desire for logical coherence and a heartfelt resistance to beliefs that diminished human dignity and freedom. For modern readers, Khayyam offers a lesson of lasting relevance. We don't have to choose between thinking and feeling. We are capable of embracing both. Today's world often pressures us into this false dichotomy. In many professional environments, we're taught to suppress emotion and rely solely on logic. In contrast, certain aspects of personal life may urge us to prioritize feelings at the expense of clear reasoning. Khayyam's life reveals the limitations of both extremes and teaches that real wisdom arises from their integration. This approach has practical implications. It means developing both critical thinking and emotional awareness when making important choices. For example, when evaluating a job opportunity, Consider not just salary or advancement, but also whether the work feels meaningful and if the environment aligns with your values. In relationships, look beyond actions alone. Assess whether there's genuine emotional connection. When facing ethical dilemmas, analyze the consequences rationally, but also trust your moral intuition. Khayyam's example reminds us that combining logic with emotion enhances both creativity and problem-solving. Whether designing something new, resolving difficult challenges, or cultivating meaningful connections, the synergy of reason and emotional depth leads to more powerful and enduring outcomes than either could achieve alone. Use your intellect to uncover patterns, strategize, and handle complexity. Simultaneously, allow your emotions to guide you toward what truly matters, what moves you, inspires you, and gives your efforts purpose. In the end, the union of reason and emotion is not a compromise. It is a powerful convergence that unlocks the full spectrum of our human capacity. Part 5. Navigating Uncertainty Without Letting Go of Hope. Omar Khayyam lived in an age overshadowed by political upheaval, religious discord, and deep philosophical uncertainty. Yet, amidst the turbulence of his time, he managed to maintain both intellectual honesty and emotional resilience. His approach to living with ambiguity offers timeless wisdom for those grappling with the complexities and relentless changes of our modern world. Rather than pretending to possess absolute knowledge or becoming paralyzed by doubt, Khayyam chose a more deliberate, thoughtful course. He embraced a middle path, one that allowed him to make reasoned decisions while staying open to new perspectives and evolving truths. This delicate equilibrium between confidence and humility is among the most enduring and applicable legacies he left behind. Through his poetry, he explored humanity's most perplexing and enduring mysteries. He confronted fundamental questions that have echoed through the ages. Is there life after death? Are our actions governed by destiny, or do we possess free will? Does the universe harbor intrinsic meaning? Instead of grasping at convenient certainties or surrendering to despair in the face of these unknowables, Khayyam met them with sincerity and courage. He chose to focus on what could be seen, understood, and acted upon. This kind of intellectual sincerity freed him from the pressure to claim false clarity and from the paralysis that excessive skepticism can induce. His comfort with the limits of knowledge was equally evident in his scientific work. As an astronomer, he understood that even the most precise measurements are still only approximations, constantly subject to future refinement. As a mathematician, he recognized that even the most rigorous proofs rest on assumptions that could one day be revised. But this awareness of uncertainty never stalled his progress. Instead, it empowered him to pursue meaningful advancement based on the best available evidence, always prepared to adjust his understanding in light of new discoveries. This mindset is what we might now call epistemic humility, the acknowledgement that knowledge is always partial and always evolving. Khayyam saw that the pursuit of total certainty is often an illusion. In his view, the wisest course when confronting life's deepest puzzles is to admit what we do not know. Yet he also believed that recognizing the limits of our knowledge doesn't render us helpless or imply that all possibilities carry equal weight. We can and must form sound judgments grounded in evidence, even as we stay open to reevaluating our beliefs as new insights emerge. Throughout his life, Khayyam experienced personal and professional instability. Political turmoil and societal shifts often undermined the institutions that supported his scholarship. His ideas sometimes placed him in conflict with powerful authorities. Still, he resisted the pull of disillusionment or isolation. Instead, he adapted to the changing world around him without compromising his dedication to truth and the honest expression of his thoughts. He understood that while external forces may be beyond our control, our responses to them remain firmly within our grasp. This understanding is especially relevant today, in an era defined by rapid transformation and an overwhelming flood of information. Every day, we are confronted with conflicting guidance about health, relationships, politics, career choices, and more. Such overload can tempt us into extremes, either clinging to rigid certainty or falling into indecision. But Khayyam's example points to a wiser, more sustainable approach. First, we must learn to distinguish between what we can reasonably know, what is still open to question, and what lies entirely beyond our current grasp. Some truths are strongly supported by evidence, others remain up for debate, and some are, for now, unknowable. Second, we should act based on the best information we have, while remaining willing to revise our decisions as new facts become available. Third, we would do well to focus our energy on the aspects of life we can influence, rather than being consumed by variables we cannot control. Above all, Khayyam teaches that uncertainty does not negate the possibility of hope, nor does it preclude the pursuit of meaning. Even if we never uncover ultimate answers about existence, we can still delight in beauty, nurture meaningful relationships, expand the frontiers of knowledge, and create works that endure. Life's meaning may not arrive pre-packaged from some external source, but we are fully capable of crafting it ourselves through our choices, our connections, and our unwavering dedication to what we believe matters. Lacking final answers does not strip away the value of love, the depth of discovery, or the power of creativity. These human experiences retain their richness and importance, even in a world that offers no absolute guarantees. Part 6. Choosing Truth Over Approval. Omar Khayyam consistently chose intellectual integrity over the comfort of public validation, even when that choice came at great personal cost. His lifelong commitment to pursuing truth, regardless of whether it was convenient, accepted, or popular, remains a powerful testament to living with authenticity and principle. In an age where social media and group consensus often pressure us to conform, Khayyam's example stands as a reminder that true wisdom requires the courage to think independently and speak with honesty. For Khayyam, truth was not an abstract concept to be admired from afar. It was a living principle that shaped his thoughts, guided his decisions, and defined his relationships. Throughout his life, he dared to articulate ideas that challenged religious orthodoxy and widely accepted views on existence, mortality, and destiny. His poetry questioned foundational beliefs about divine judgment, fate, and the afterlife, doctrines central to the dominant spiritual ideologies of his era. These were not flippant provocations or rhetorical flourishes. They were the result of careful philosophical inquiry and rigorous contemplation. Khayyam fully understood that expressing such views could provoke hostility, stir controversy, or even place him in danger. Still, he chose to voice his convictions rather than retreat into silence. This was a bold stance in 11th century Persia, a society where dissenting opinions could lead to the loss of patronage, social exile, or severe punishment. While many of his peers opted for discretion, hiding their doubts or echoing approved beliefs for personal gain, Khayyam refused to compromise his intellectual integrity. He stood firm against the temptation to dilute his views for acceptance or personal security. His dedication to truth extended beyond philosophy and poetry into the realm of science. When his astronomical observations contradicted established theories, he reported his findings faithfully, without tailoring them to fit prevailing assumptions. Likewise, in mathematics, when his innovations clashed with conventional methods, he chose transparency over deference. He published his work honestly, aware that it might challenge the authority of leading figures in his field. He recognized that genuine advancement, especially in scientific disciplines, requires a commitment to following evidence wherever it leads, even if it disrupts widely held beliefs. This same honesty shaped his approach to personal relationships. Khayyam preferred sincerity over pretense, even when it meant facing discomfort or disapproval. He cultivated a circle of companions and students who valued truth over flattery and who were willing to confront difficult questions with open minds. While this may have limited the breadth of his social ties, it ensured the depth and authenticity of his connections. The tension between truth and social approval was a real challenge for Khayyam, and it continues to be for us today. In our own time, we often feel compelled to present only those opinions that align with dominant narratives, whether in social circles, workplaces, or digital platforms. Many of us wear masks of certainty or conformity, avoiding difficult conversations or controversial subjects to maintain harmony. Yet Khayyam's example reminds us that such compromises, however understandable, can undermine our integrity and hinder our capacity for genuine understanding. When we prioritize acceptance over authenticity, we begin to drift from our own beliefs and inner truths. We blur the line between what we're expected to believe and what we truly believe. Our creative efforts, intellectual pursuits, and even our closest bonds become shaped more by what is palatable than by what is honest. The alternative demands a particular form of bravery, an intellectual courage to engage with challenging ideas and to express our sincere conclusions, even when they conflict with popular opinion. This doesn't mean being harsh or indiscriminate in sharing every thought. Rather, it calls for a quiet resolve to be honest about our experiences and perspectives, avoiding false certainty and resisting the urge to agree with things we internally question. It also involves asking honest questions, ones born of genuine curiosity, not performative intellect. In practice, this could mean admitting when we don't understand something instead of pretending we do. It might involve voicing doubts about accepted views rather than nodding along to fit in. It could also look like revealing the flaws and struggles in our lives instead of curating a polished facade. These actions take courage as they open us up to judgment, misinterpretation, or exclusion. Yet they also create space for the kind of deep insight and authentic connection that Khayyam held as life's truest reward. Part 7. Merging Contemplation with Purposeful Action. Omar Khayyam stands as a striking example of how profound reflection and decisive action can coexist in harmony, proving that these aspects of life are not mutually exclusive, but rather deeply interconnected. More than a philosopher pondering life's enigmas, Khayyam was also a pragmatic mind who made lasting contributions through innovations in mathematics, reforms in timekeeping, and service in administrative roles. His unique ability to balance introspective thought with concrete results allowed him to bring philosophical depth to real-world problems and to root abstract insights in lived experience. Khayyam's life counters the widespread belief that intellectual exploration and active engagement must remain separate. As both a contemplative poet and a rigorous thinker, he dedicated himself to examining themes of existence, death, and the human condition. The Rubaiyat, his collection of quatrains, reveals a soul deeply absorbed in self-inquiry, unafraid to engage with life's most challenging questions. Yet these meditations never led him to retreat from the practicalities of daily life or to dismiss them as insignificant. On the contrary, his philosophical depth informed his practical decisions, enhancing his capacity to act wisely and effectively in both personal and professional spheres. When Sultan Malik Shah assigned him the formidable task of overhauling the calendar system, Khayyam approached it with a rare synthesis of technical acumen and philosophical vision. He understood that designing a precise and functional calendar extended beyond solving mathematical problems. It required sensitivity to the cultural, spiritual, and societal contexts in which time itself was understood and measured. His philosophical awareness of time's deeper meaning bolstered his technical ability to organize and define it. The calendar he developed proved to be so accurate that it remained in use for centuries and continues to influence modern timekeeping systems. Likewise, his work in mathematics was not merely an intellectual exercise. It stemmed from a broader philosophical pursuit of universal truths and the beauty underlying them. Khayyam viewed mathematics not as a cold, detached discipline, but as a portal to understanding the fundamental nature of reality. His application of geometry to algebraic problems reflected a capacity to unite diverse branches of knowledge and draw connections between seemingly separate domains. This integrative mindset enabled him to make discoveries that may have eluded more narrowly focused thinkers. His poetic work further exemplifies the seamless fusion of deep thought with engaged living. The verses he composed are far from abstract musings. They are vivid expressions shaped by real encounters with love, friendship, politics, professional challenges, and personal struggles. The genuine voice in his poetry arises directly from his immersion in the complexities of human life. Achieving this kind of integration required Khayyam to master the art of time management and to navigate fluidly between different mental and emotional modes. He cultivated the ability to move with ease between moments of intense focus and periods of reflective calm. He recognized that true creativity and insight arise not from effort alone, nor from contemplation in isolation, but from the dynamic interplay between the two. It is likely that his daily life included focused sessions of astronomical and mathematical study, commitments to his official duties at court, thoughtful conversations with peers, and solitary moments for inward reflection. For those of us grappling with the pace and fragmentation of modern existence, Khayyam's example serves as a powerful model. Too often, we separate thinking from doing, squeezing in moments of reflection between endless tasks and treating work as a series of mechanical actions disconnected from deeper meaning. This fragmentation diminishes both our inner lives and our external effectiveness. We overlook the insights that arise from thoughtful pause, and we lose a sense of purpose when our actions are not guided by reflection. When we separate our thinking from our doing, we risk moving through life unmoored from the values that give our efforts significance. To begin realigning thought and action, introduce intentional moments of stillness into your daily rhythm. Make time to reflect, not just occasionally, but regularly, on what you're doing and why it matters. Instead of rushing from task to task, ask yourself what you're learning, what patterns you're noticing, and how your actions relate to your larger goals and values. Let your everyday experiences become a mirror through which you gain insight into yourself and the world. Seek ways to connect your reflections with your real-world challenges. Let ideas from books, conversations, or personal introspection shape your responses to practical situations. Equally, allow your day-to-day experiences to deepen your understanding of philosophical or abstract ideas. Interactions at work can illuminate truths about human behavior. Ethical conflicts can refine your sense of morality, and small details observed throughout your day can reveal larger societal and existential patterns. Like Khayyam, you can cultivate a life in which engagement with the world nurtures intellectual and spiritual depth, and where your inner insights empower meaningful action. This kind of integration doesn't require drastic lifestyle changes. What it calls for is a shift in how you approach each moment, a heightened awareness that enables reflection and action to continuously support and refine each other. Part 8. Cultivating Inner Freedom. Amid external constraints. Throughout his lifetime, Omar Khayyam faced numerous external forces that sought to limit his independence: political unrest, rigid religious doctrines, and the expectations of a conformist society. Nevertheless, he managed to foster a profound sense of inner liberty, shaping a personal philosophy and committing himself to intellectual discovery on his own terms. Despite the oppressive circumstances, Khayyam found avenues to express his authentic self and articulate his thoughts with honesty. His ability to maintain an internal sense of freedom while moving through a restrictive world offers a timeless lesson in preserving one's autonomy and integrity when external conditions grow hostile. This inner liberation was not a form of escapism or denial. It was a practical strength, allowing him to interact with limitations resourcefully rather than be crushed by them. Khayyam lived in a time of political volatility, when the support of patrons could disappear in an instant, and academic roles often came with considerable political entanglements. After the death of his principal patron, Sultan Malik Shah, Khayyam's fortunes declined, and he was even compelled to perform a pilgrimage to Mecca to reaffirm his religious loyalty. Yet, he did not respond with bitterness, nor did he abandon his scholarly mission. Instead, he adapted to his changing environment without betraying his commitment to truth or personal authenticity. He understood that while he couldn't control the world around him, he could choose how he responded to it. His poetry reveals a mind that discovered liberation through accepting life's boundaries, paired with a creative will that turned limitations into opportunities. When contemplating mortality and the unpredictability of life, Khayyam did not succumb to hopelessness or cynicism. Rather, he adopted a realistic, unflinching view of the human condition, one that allowed him to conserve his energy for pursuits where change and action were still possible. This acceptance of life's inevitabilities didn't weaken his sense of agency, it strengthened it. His work in mathematics and the sciences also reflected this inner resilience. Although the scientific tools and knowledge of his time were limited compared to modern standards, Khayyam did not let these constraints deter him. Instead of waiting for more advanced resources, he used the materials at his disposal to develop original insights and push the boundaries of his era's understanding. One remarkable example was his use of geometry to solve algebraic equations, a novel and effective strategy that expanded the mathematical potential of his time. Even more significantly, Khayyam preserved a strong sense of intellectual independence, despite operating within a religious and academic climate that demanded conformity. Open defiance of prevailing theological views could have led to persecution, but he found nuanced and elegant ways to express his skepticism and alternative perspectives. Through verse and contemplative writings, he conveyed deep and at times provocative ideas, carefully phrased so that thoughtful readers could discern his meaning while shielding him from overt reprisal. This delicate balance required not only intellectual prowess, but also emotional wisdom, a capacity to engage with constraints constructively, rather than reacting impulsively. Khayyam's ability to sustain this inner freedom stemmed from what we might call psychological independence, the inner strength to remain loyal to one's beliefs and values despite societal pressure to conform. He cultivated this through disciplined study, sharp reasoning, and genuine self-examination. He trained himself to distinguish between beliefs that were truly his and those he had inherited without question. This mental clarity empowered him to consciously choose when to comply with social expectations and when to quietly diverge, instead of reacting automatically to external demands. Even today, the challenge of maintaining internal freedom in a world full of pressures remains as urgent as ever. We live in a landscape filled with obligations imposed by work, family, social roles, and cultural norms that often suppress our independent thought and silence our authentic selves. Many people today feel hemmed in by economic demands, rigid identities, and daily routines that leave little room for creative choice or self-expression. This often leads to two unhealthy responses, either destructive rebellion or passive submission to external control. The life of Khayyam points to a wiser path, a more skillful and balanced way forward. Begin by distinguishing between limitations that are genuinely unchangeable and those that only seem so because different strategies haven't yet been explored. Accept the former with calm resolve and work creatively within their boundaries to reclaim a sense of influence and effectiveness. For the constraints that are open to change, commit to long-term strategies that gradually shift the conditions in your favor, even as you navigate the present with as much skill and adaptability as possible. Above all, Channel your energy into the spaces where freedom still exists, regardless of the external environment. Your perspective, attention, principles, and emotional responses remain fully under your jurisdiction. Even when external choices are limited, you can cultivate a rich inner life through deep learning, introspection, and creative expression. Relationships grounded in empathy and shared respect can continue to grow and bring meaning. In even the most difficult social landscapes, you can remain anchored in your authentic voice. Like Omar Khayyam, you have the power to express your truth and contribute uniquely to the world, even when restrictions feel overwhelming. Part 9. Welcome all voices, but judge with wisdom. Omar Khayyam embodied a rare combination of intellectual openness and critical rigor. He immersed himself in teachings from a wide range of cultural and philosophical traditions, drawing from Islamic thought, Zoroastrian beliefs, Greek mathematical reasoning, and the literary elegance of Persian poetry. Yet, throughout this eclectic education, he maintained a consistently independent perspective, examining each idea with sharp discernment. Rather than aligning himself entirely with any one system, Khayyam approached each tradition with a selective eye. He embraced the most compelling concepts, questioned inherited assumptions, and wove these threads into a worldview that was uniquely his own. This ability to engage broadly while remaining intellectually autonomous allowed him to benefit from multiple schools of thought without becoming confined by any single one. In our modern age, overwhelmed by information and competing narratives, his method offers a valuable roadmap for separating meaningful insight from noise. Khayyam's receptivity to diverse ideas included a willingness to learn from unlikely or unconventional sources. His early education began under Imam Mu'afaq Nishaburi, a respected scholar who taught the children of prominent families. Later, he studied with Bahman Yar, a convert from Zoroastrianism to Islam, and a student of the renowned philosopher Avicenna. This exposure to deeply varied worldviews early in life taught him an essential truth, that sincere, intelligent minds can arrive at vastly different conclusions on life's most profound questions. Rather than finding such diversity disorienting, Khayyam came to see it as intellectually enriching. He developed the capacity to extract valuable insights from many traditions while applying his own standards of evaluation. His mathematical studies, for example, drew on the intellectual legacies of Greek, Islamic, and Indian scholars. He studied Euclid's Elements, but he didn't stop at memorizing formulas. He worked to understand their underlying logic and extended those ideas into new realms of thought. By fusing algebraic knowledge from Islamic predecessors with Greek geometric reasoning, Khayyam pioneered innovative methods in mathematical problem-solving. His wide-ranging education helped him recognize deep connections between mathematical systems, allowing him to build solutions grounded in multiple intellectual traditions. Khayyam's pursuits in philosophy and poetry revealed a similar breadth and originality. He drew upon Islamic theology, Sufi mysticism, Greek rationalism, and the artistic elegance of Persian literary forms. Yet, through all these influences, his voice remained distinctly personal. He didn't adopt ideas because they were endorsed by authority figures. He embraced them only when they made sense to him, logically and experientially. He possessed a remarkable talent for uncovering universal truths across differing traditions while remaining alert to their contrasts. Through this process of thoughtful comparison, he forged his own well-reasoned stances. His ability to synthesize diverse ideas gave him access to the intellectual wealth of many civilizations without compromising his independence of thought. At the heart of Khayyam's approach to knowledge were several guiding principles. First, he evaluated arguments based on their internal strength, not the status or fame of those who proposed them. He believed that ideas must stand on their own merit, regardless of whether they came from respected scholars, popular figures, or powerful authorities. Second, he insisted that claims about the physical world be supported by empirical observation and sound mathematics. Third, he held that philosophical and religious doctrines must be logically coherent and clearly articulated, not vague, contradictory, or convenient. Above all, Khayyam championed ideas that deepened understanding and contributed to human well-being. He rejected doctrines designed merely to uphold tradition or reinforce social hierarchies. This commitment required genuine humility. He recognized that truth could emerge from those with whom he disagreed, and that his own beliefs might need revision in light of stronger reasoning or more compelling evidence. He was never reluctant to change his mind when presented with a more convincing argument or more accurate data. Yet this openness was never haphazard. It was grounded in a disciplined method of inquiry and an unwavering dedication to evidence. His blend of flexibility and principled evaluation allowed him to remain intellectually curious throughout his life without falling prey to skepticism or indecision. In our contemporary world, where information floods in from countless directions, news outlets, academic publications, social platforms, podcasts, and everyday conversations, Khayyam's example is more relevant than ever. We are constantly exposed to contradictory viewpoints. The danger lies in swinging to either extreme, accepting everything uncritically or dismissing everything with cynicism. Khayyam's life reminds us that a better path is possible. We can engage widely, think independently, and pursue truth with both discernment and humility. Khayyam encourages a more refined and deliberate approach, one that remains open to novel viewpoints while maintaining rigorous standards for evaluation. Start by establishing clear benchmarks for how you will assess new ideas and information. Consider whether a claim is supported by credible, verifiable evidence, whether the reasoning is logically coherent, and whether the conclusions genuinely follow from the premises presented. Evaluating the trustworthiness and potential biases of sources is important, but your primary focus should remain on the overall soundness of the argument and the reliability of the supporting evidence. Instead of gravitating toward ideas that simply affirm your current beliefs or provide emotional comfort, seek those that broaden your awareness and deepen your insight into both yourself and the broader world. Embrace intellectual humility by consciously engaging with perspectives that challenge your assumptions and by acknowledging the natural boundaries of your own knowledge and experience. As Khayyam illustrates, valuable insights can often emerge from engaging with sources whose core views you might strongly oppose, without compromising your own intellectual independence. The goal is not to become a passive recipient of second-hand ideas, but to develop a well-informed personal viewpoint through thoughtful engagement with a wide range of compelling and contrasting perspectives. This intentional process allows you to avoid the pitfalls of rigid ideology and the inertia of skepticism, enabling continued intellectual growth throughout your life. Part 10. Embracing Life Through the Lens of Mortality. Omar Khayyam's meditations on death were never fixated on darkness or despair. Instead, they served as a compelling reminder to appreciate life in all its richness. His lucid awareness of life's transience did not drag him into pessimism. Rather, it deepened his connection to the present and infused his relationships and creative work with sincerity and vitality. Rather than resisting or denying the certainty of death, Khayyam accepted it as an essential part of the human experience. This acceptance freed him to concentrate on what was genuinely meaningful. He found significance in the fleeting nature of life and dismissed the false comfort found in illusions of permanence. Far from dulling his joy, his acknowledgement of mortality sharpened it, enhancing his ability to love, to create, and to embrace each passing moment with renewed intensity. The Rubaiyat repeatedly explores themes of ephemerality and change. But Khayyam's goal was not to encourage detachment. It was to inspire a fuller engagement with life. He wrote about the brevity of youth, the sudden departure of loved ones, and the unpredictable turns of fate, not to mourn them, but to awaken a more profound awareness of the present, a deeper appreciation for friendship, and a reverence for the miracle of simply being alive. By directly confronting the reality of death, Khayyam escaped the hidden anxieties that often come from denying it. He chose not to live as though time were endless, and this clarity helped him avoid the misplaced priorities that such illusions can foster. His honest acceptance of life's impermanence gave him the clarity to live intentionally, investing his energy in what truly mattered. This life-affirming approach extended into Khayyam's scientific pursuits. As an astronomer studying the vast expanses of time and space, he understood acutely how short a human lifespan is compared to the lifespans of stars and galaxies. But instead of feeling small or insignificant, he was moved by a sense of wonder and gratitude for the gift of awareness itself. To him, being a temporary being capable of contemplating eternal truths was not a cause for sorrow, but a reason to celebrate. Khayyam's mathematical contributions, too, reflect this fusion of mortality awareness with a pursuit of the timeless. In engaging with enduring ideas, he felt he was participating in something far greater than himself, despite the brevity of his own life. This perspective demanded emotional courage. To face death squarely is to relinquish comforting illusions of permanence and control. But Khayyam did not shy away. He confronted this reality openly. He refused to cling to fantasies of immortality and instead found that in accepting death, he unearthed a more profound peace and a truer freedom than any illusion could provide. By yielding to the unchangeable, Khayyam redirected his focus toward making his finite existence as rich, joyful, and purposeful as possible. His recognition of death's inevitability never led to resignation or hopelessness. On the contrary, it became a source of energy and motivation. It compelled him to live with greater purpose and to create works that might outlast him. His groundbreaking achievements in mathematics, his reform of the calendar, and his deeply evocative poetry all stem from this desire to leave behind something enduring. The awareness of life's brevity sharpened his sense of priority, helping him distinguish the truly meaningful from the trivial. In his personal life, this same clarity brought him closer to those he loved, fostering a sense of presence and gratitude. Realizing that neither he nor his companions would live forever only made their shared moments more valuable. Their impermanence didn't render those relationships futile. It made them sacred. His poetry on friendship is infused with tenderness and urgency, born from his awareness of life's fragility. This understanding moved him to cherish his loved ones while they were still by his side, and to express affection and gratitude without delay. For readers today, Khayyam's outlook offers a compelling alternative to modern attitudes. In a culture that often evades the subject of death and clings to an idealized youth, we frequently act as though aging and mortality are distant threats that happen only to others. This denial can lead to misplaced ambitions, shallow pursuits, and disorientation when the inevitable finally comes into view. Khayyam offers another way forward. By facing the truth of our mortality early and sincerely, we can make better choices and live with greater fulfillment. His message is not one of fear, but of liberation. He urges us to see our mortality not as a shadow over life, but as a lens through which life becomes more vivid, more meaningful, and more real. Recognizing that your time on earth is limited is fundamental to living with clarity and purpose. This realization pushes you to concentrate on what truly holds value and to make intentional, well-considered choices. Instead of postponing meaningful conversations, creative pursuits, or deeply fulfilling experiences for some imagined future when circumstances feel more ideal, it's important to accept that the present moment is the only one you're guaranteed. Waiting for a better time often means missing out entirely. Let the brevity of life serve as a call to action, to love more freely, to pursue work that brings fulfillment, and to truly notice and appreciate the small joys that exist in everyday life. While you cannot control how much time you have, you hold tremendous power in deciding how that time is spent. Khayyam teaches us that reflecting on mortality should not lead to despair, but rather to a richer appreciation of beauty, wonder, and joy. The short-lived bloom of spring flowers makes them more enchanting, not less. Similarly, the sheer rarity of human consciousness within the vastness of time only underscores how miraculous our lives truly are. By accepting impermanence instead of fearing it, we open ourselves to a more profound connection with the moments we're given. In doing so, we can create, love, and live in ways that echo beyond our individual existence, leaving behind something meaningful, enduring, and larger than ourselves. Part 11. Nurturing Intellectual Courage Amid Adversity. Omar Khayyam serves as a powerful testament to the strength of intellectual courage, a figure who relentlessly pursued truth and voiced his beliefs, even when such honesty exposed him to criticism, controversy, or personal peril. Rather than accepting traditional norms without scrutiny, he dared to challenge established doctrines and influential authorities, following his reasoning wherever it led. His life underscores that intellectual integrity is not merely an academic pursuit, but an essential foundation for living with honesty and mental clarity. Khayyam's boldness did not stem from impulsive defiance, but from a deliberate, reasoned commitment to truth. He was prepared to withstand social disapproval because he understood that compromising one's intellectual integrity would ultimately mean abandoning the pursuit of real understanding and authentic existence. His enduring influence demonstrates that intellectual bravery is not an elite virtue confined to scholars. It is a vital quality for anyone striving to think independently and live with meaning. Khayyam's early demonstration of this inner fortitude can be seen in his work as a mathematician and scientist, particularly when he engaged with questions that defied dominant theories of his time. His innovative approach to solving cubic equations through geometric methods represented a radical departure from prevailing mathematical practices. This intellectual leap required not only confidence in his own insights, but also the courage to defend conclusions that others might ridicule or reject. Instead of choosing the safer route of adhering to accepted paradigms and making incremental contributions, Khayyam embraced innovation, fully aware of the risks to his reputation. His work in astronomy reflects this same bravery. When his calculations revealed inaccuracies in the widely used calendar systems, he chose to present the truth rather than conform to expectations. He resisted the temptation to manipulate data for political or religious acceptance and stood by his findings without compromise. His proposal for calendar reform extended beyond technical precision. It directly challenged powerful religious and governmental structures, as calendars were intimately tied to sacred rituals and civil administration. Yet, Khayyam placed objective accuracy above the desire for approval, favoring truth even when it disrupted societal norms and provoked institutional resistance. The clearest expression of Khayyam's intellectual bravery, however, emerges in his philosophical and poetic challenges to religious dogma. In his Rubaiyat, he openly questioned fundamental doctrines such as divine judgment, destiny, and life after death, beliefs that were deeply entrenched in the religious worldview of his society. These doubts were not whispered in private, but publicly voiced, despite the fact that such dissent could, and did, lead to severe consequences. Historical accounts suggest that Khayyam was once accused of heresy and pressured into making a pilgrimage to Mecca to reaffirm his faith. Even under such duress, Khayyam refused to betray his convictions or adopt the shield of conformity. His fidelity to honest inquiry was not intended to provoke, but stemmed from a belief in the necessity of truth. His bravery was anchored in a disciplined intellectual framework that safeguarded it from becoming reckless. First, his critiques were grounded in rigorous thought and evidence, not in emotional reaction or a desire for rebellion. His skepticism toward religious orthodoxy came from a place of philosophical depth, not superficial contrariness. Second, he demonstrated careful judgment in how and when he expressed dissent, often choosing contexts where his ideas could prompt reflection rather than incite unnecessary conflict. Third, even as he challenged sacred beliefs, he maintained a respectful tone, targeting ideas, not individuals, with his criticism. This brand of courage also required emotional resilience. Independent thinking frequently leads to isolation and condemnation. Khayyam faced periods of exclusion from political circles and social life, yet he remained steadfast in his pursuit of intellectual honesty. He understood that Evading controversy meant sacrificing both his integrity and the deeper value of his work. His strength was drawn from a dual foundation: trust in his intellectual abilities and commitment to values that transcended the pursuit of public approval. For those navigating the complexities of modern life, Khayyam's example remains deeply relevant. In a world saturated with information and polarized ideologies, there is relentless pressure to conform. Social media rewards echo chambers and penalizes dissent, making it increasingly difficult to speak or think against the grain. At the same time, many academic, corporate, and cultural institutions tend to suppress risk-taking in favor of safe, conventional thinking. Against this backdrop, Khayyam's life stands as a vital reminder that intellectual courage is more than a historical virtue. It is an essential trait for our time. The challenges we encounter, both individually and as a society, require exactly the kind of original thinking and creative problem-solving that Khayyam exemplified. Cultivating intellectual courage begins with a deep trust in your own capacity to think critically and reason effectively. It means learning to evaluate information impartially, build well-structured arguments, and identify flawed logic, no matter where it comes from. This process also demands the ability to distinguish between your authentic beliefs and those shaped by external influences such as social expectations or the urge to belong. Developing the strength to stand firm in the face of opposition is crucial. It allows you to face criticism without immediately abandoning your perspective for the sake of approval. Intellectual courage involves knowing not just when to voice your ideas, but how to do so in a way that is respectful, thoughtful, and productive, not confrontational. Khayyam's example encourages us to engage with complex questions in ways that promote genuine understanding rather than provoke conflict for attention or ego. When you take a position that challenges the norm, ensure it is grounded in reason and supported by clear evidence, not driven by impulse or a desire to stand apart. Even in disagreement, maintain respect for others and prioritize meaningful dialogue over the urge to win an argument or assert dominance. Most importantly, independent thought and the honest expression of your beliefs contribute not only to your own intellectual development, but also to the broader advancement of knowledge. By approaching ideas with integrity and authenticity, you help humanity tackle its most pressing challenges and uncover deeper truths. In doing so, like Khayyam, you help cultivate a culture that champions curiosity over conformity and truth over popularity. Your commitment to open inquiry and honest communication may well become one of your most enduring and impactful legacies, not only for your immediate community, but for future generations who follow in your path. Part 12. Embrace intellectual humility without sacrificing confidence. Omar Khayyam exemplified a rare and admirable blend of modesty in thought and confidence in reason, a dual quality that allowed him to remain a curious seeker of truth while also making meaningful contributions to human understanding. He clearly recognized the boundaries of human knowledge and did not hesitate to admit when answers eluded him. Yet, he also placed firm trust in the discipline of rational inquiry and his capacity to uncover significant insights. This delicate balance protected him from the arrogance that stifles learning, as well as from the kind of crippling doubt that prevents clear thinking. By maintaining openness to new ideas While standing on the firm ground of logical reasoning, Khayyam demonstrated a way of thinking that harmonizes intellectual integrity with self-assurance, an essential mindset for both sound judgment and authentic pursuit of truth. His humility was most evident in his sincere acknowledgement of life's most profound enigmas, questions that no one can answer with final certainty. Through his poetry, Khayyam openly expressed his doubts about some of humanity's oldest and deepest questions, such as the existence of an afterlife, the true purpose of life, and whether our actions are freely chosen or predestined. Rather than pretending to possess answers or accepting widely held beliefs that did not satisfy his rational standards, he acknowledged the uncertainty of these topics while continuing to explore them with thoughtful and sincere curiosity. This intellectual integrity liberated him from defending ideas he did not truly accept and allowed him to dedicate his energy to areas where meaningful progress was possible. In his scientific pursuits, he showed the same spirit of humility by recognizing that even his most careful calculations and observations were tentative, always subject to refinement as methods and tools evolved. He understood that the progress of science is incremental and that even the most precise knowledge remains provisional. Yet, this recognition of fallibility never weakened his faith in conclusions supported by rigorous investigation and reasoned analysis. He distinguished carefully between confidence that was earned through evidence and logical soundness, and certainty that was misplaced in realms still governed by ambiguity. His mathematical work stands as another clear demonstration of this balanced perspective. Khayyam extended the findings of earlier mathematicians with both respect and critical insight, acknowledging their achievements, while also pointing out where further development was possible. When he introduced new approaches to solving cubic equations, he did not claim to have found definitive or final answers. Instead, he offered his solutions as improvements, valuable steps forward in an ongoing process, always open to future refinement. He was sure enough of his mathematical insights to publish them and build upon their foundations, but he remained humble enough to accept that others might one day enhance or surpass his work. Striking this balance required deep self-awareness and emotional maturity. Khayyam had to learn how to distinguish between the rightful satisfaction that comes from genuine achievement and the kind of pride that closes the mind to further growth. He needed to believe in his intellectual capacity without becoming inflexible or dismissive of other viewpoints. He remained eager to learn, receptive to new perspectives, without allowing excessive skepticism to prevent him from acting on what he did understand. His method of learning from others further reveals this careful balance. He sought out wise mentors and immersed himself in established bodies of knowledge, showing true reverence for the wisdom of those who came before. But he never surrendered his independent judgment. He did not accept ideas simply because they were rooted in tradition, nor did he reject them purely because of their source. Instead, he assessed each argument on its own terms, welcoming insights from any direction while forming his own conclusions through careful reasoning. In the modern era, achieving this equilibrium between humility and confidence may be more challenging than ever. Our age often rewards extremes, either encouraging bold, unsubstantiated certainty or promoting a kind of pervasive doubt that paralyzes action. The dynamics of social media and broader cultural trends often favor those who express unwavering opinions, even when those opinions lack a firm basis in fact. Meanwhile, the sheer volume and rapid pace of modern information can make it easy to retreat into intellectual hesitation, overwhelmed by the fear of being wrong. In contrast, Khayyam's example offers a wiser, more thoughtful path, one that avoids both arrogance and paralysis. He challenges us to cultivate discernment, recognizing that different questions call for different levels of certainty. By learning to align our confidence with the clarity of the evidence, we become better equipped to engage with the world in a thoughtful, meaningful, and effective way. Some beliefs are backed by compelling, conclusive evidence and deserve a high level of confidence. Others are grounded in reliable yet revisable information, and some remain unresolved or are shaped by individual interpretation. It's essential to align your degree of certainty with the strength of the supporting evidence, rather than applying equal conviction or skepticism to every claim. When you're uncertain, it's not only acceptable but wise to admit, "I don't know." However, uncertainty shouldn't lead to inaction. When choices must be made, rely on the most accurate understanding available to you at the time. This approach reflects what might be called confident humility, the ability to stand by your thoughtful conclusions while remaining open to new information that may shift your perspective. It's about placing trust not only in your current beliefs, but also in the integrity of the reasoning process that brought you to them. If you've approached a question with diligence, sound reasoning, and credible evidence, your confidence is well earned, as long as it remains adaptable. Be ready to revise your views when more compelling arguments or clearer data come to light. This mindset fosters continuous growth while allowing you to participate thoughtfully and constructively in conversations and decisions, guided by your best present understanding. Remember that neither confidence nor intellectual humility is a fixed trait. Both are cultivated through consistent reflection and intentional effort. The poet Omar Khayyam exemplified this balance, acknowledging the limits of knowledge while trusting in one's ability to think clearly and offer valuable insights. Embracing this dual posture makes you not only a more effective learner, but also a more trustworthy communicator, someone who engages earnestly with both the promise and the boundaries of human understanding. The goal isn't to attain perfect knowledge, but to reason as clearly and honestly as possible with the information you have, while staying open to growth and the ongoing journey of discovery. Part 13. Finding Meaning in the Momentary. Omar Khayyam possessed a rare ability to draw profound meaning and joy from experiences he fully understood to be transient. For him, beauty's brief existence did not diminish its worth. Instead, its impermanence was precisely what made it sacred and worthy of celebration. His poetry often returns to vivid images of blossoms that bloom and fade, the turning of the seasons, and fleeting yet deeply felt human experiences. Khayyam did not view the passing nature of things as a deficiency. Rather, he saw it as a quality that made them more valuable. Because such moments cannot be held or replicated, they become all the more precious. His philosophy offers a lasting lesson on how we might discover fulfillment in a world where everything we love is subject to change. In his Rubaiyat, the symbol of spring flowers becomes a recurring motif, capturing the profound beauty embedded in all that is temporary. To Khayyam, a rose did not lose its allure because it would eventually wilt, nor did the sunset lose its splendor because darkness followed. It was precisely their fleeting nature that gave them meaning, reminding us that such experiences are not owed to us. They are gifts. Rather than resisting the inevitable, Khayyam chose to immerse himself fully in such moments, unburdened by the need for them to endure. He refused to let the certainty of impermanence lead to hopelessness or detachment. This view extended into his understanding of human connection. He wrote tenderly of companionship and love, knowing that all relationships are destined to end, whether through separation or death. Yet he did not retreat from intimacy out of fear for its eventual loss. On the contrary, he gave himself entirely to the relationships life offered. His poetry conveys a quiet urgency and gentleness that arise from a deep awareness of how fragile and invaluable human bonds are. This same appreciation for impermanence also guided his devotion to learning and creative work. As a mathematician and astronomer, Khayyam understood that his discoveries would eventually be revised or eclipsed. As a poet, he knew that his verses might one day be forgotten or misunderstood. Still, this did not deter him from seeking truth or beauty in his work. Instead, it motivated him to create with sincerity and skill while the opportunity remained. The fact that his contributions were not permanent only made them more meaningful, for they reflected his earnest dialogue with the questions of his time. His scientific understanding of time, measured not in decades but in celestial epochs, only deepened his reverence for life's fleeting moments. Through astronomy, he came to grasp how brief human life is when viewed against the lifespan of stars and galaxies. Yet, rather than feeling insignificant in the face of such immensity, Khayyam was struck with wonder that beings like us, however briefly alive, can perceive beauty and create meaning. The temporary nature of consciousness itself made it all the more astonishing that we can feel, understand, and shape our world with art and thought. To find meaning in the transient requires both emotional maturity and spiritual clarity. Khayyam had the bravery to accept that joy and sorrow, love and loss, come as a pair. He learned to embrace happiness without needing to extend it beyond its natural course. He could love without seeking possession, and delight in the present without trying to trap it in permanence. This acceptance freed him from the exhausting struggle to preserve what must pass, and instead allowed him to inhabit each precious moment as it arrived. He understood that the attempt to make temporary joys permanent can, paradoxically, strip them of their power. Today, Khayyam's perspective offers a valuable response to two prevailing impulses: the relentless pursuit of lasting satisfaction that defines much of contemporary consumerism, and the cynical dismissal of fleeting pleasures disguised as worldliness. We often exhaust ourselves chasing permanence, capturing every second through photos, hoarding possessions in search of security, or trying to lock our relationships into static forms. We often protect ourselves from the ache of impermanence by minimizing the significance of brief joys or avoiding experiences we know won't last. But, as Khayyam insightfully reminds us, this approach misses the profound beauty that transience can hold. Rather than resisting the temporary, we have the choice to fully engage with each passing moment, savoring it without the need to make it last. When you're moved by the natural world, stirred by a compelling piece of art, or deeply connected in a meaningful interaction, allow yourself to feel it completely. Resist the instinct to preserve it, relive it, or stretch it out. Understand that the fleeting nature of these experiences is not a flaw to correct. It is what lends them their unique emotional weight. A sunset is not less wondrous because it vanishes quickly, just as a sincere moment with someone isn't less valuable because it ends. It's equally vital to recognize that your creative efforts, no matter how meaningful, are impermanent, destined to be followed by the expressions of others. This reality need not be a source of sadness. In fact, it can motivate you to contribute with full sincerity while the opportunity is yours, adding your voice with integrity to the ongoing human exploration of truth, beauty, and purpose. Like Khayyam, you can find fulfillment in creating something genuine and beautiful, not to chase legacy, but because it is inherently worthwhile. In the end, what gives your work significance is not how long it lasts or how widely it's remembered, but the intention and presence you bring to it. The real reward lies in the honesty, care, and meaning you pour into your actions, in this moment, as it passes. Part 14. Embracing Global Wisdom. Insights from Omar Khayyam. Omar Khayyam lived in an extraordinary era marked by the convergence of intellectual traditions from Persia, the Arab world, Greece, and India. Positioned at this rich crossroads of civilizations, he skillfully integrated concepts from each culture to create a worldview that was both cohesive and distinctly his own. Rather than adhering to a singular tradition, Khayyam drew upon Indian advances in mathematics, the philosophical depth of the Greeks, the scientific precision of Islamic scholarship, and the lyrical beauty of Persian literature. His gift for weaving together these diverse strands of thought enabled him to make groundbreaking contributions that no single tradition alone could have produced. In many ways, his life and work offer a compelling template for navigating the globalized intellectual landscape of today, where the challenge is not scarcity of knowledge, but rather how to meaningfully harmonize the abundance of insights at our disposal. Khayyam's contributions to mathematics exemplify this fusion of cultural wisdom. His geometric methods for solving algebraic equations represented a novel combination of Greek spatial reasoning and Islamic algebraic thought. He studied the works of classical figures like Euclid with great care, but did not confine himself to their techniques. Instead, he applied geometric principles to algebraic problems, breaking new ground where previous scholars had seen limits. His innovations also built upon the algebraic foundation laid by Islamic thinkers like al-Khwarizmi, extending their work by introducing geometric dimensions that broadened mathematical understanding. In astronomy, Khayyam once again demonstrated his talent for drawing from multiple intellectual sources. He blended Greek theoretical models with the observational precision characteristic of Islamic astronomy, alongside computational methods refined by Indian scholars. This synthesis enabled him to calculate the solar year with remarkable accuracy, a feat most notably embodied in the Jalali calendar. Recognized for its precision, the calendar stands as a testament to what can be achieved through the integration of diverse scientific traditions. Such a contribution would have been unthinkable had he limited himself to a single school of thought. Khayyam recognized early on that truth was not the domain of any one culture. His ability to bring together perspectives that had long developed in isolation allowed him to uncover insights that were beyond the reach of any one tradition alone. This integrative mindset informed not only his scientific work, but also his philosophical and poetic expressions. Rooted in the traditions of Persian poetry, Khayyam's verses were enriched by his engagement with Greek philosophy, Islamic theological discourse, and possibly Zoroastrian ideas transmitted through his teacher, Bakhmanian. His poetry did more than charm. It served as a vessel for conveying deep philosophical inquiry, emotional reflection, and intellectual sophistication. Rather than adopting a singular ideology, he distilled essential truths from various traditions and forged them into a personal, coherent philosophy grounded in experience and reason. This kind of intellectual synthesis required not just analytical skill, but also the ability to see through different cultural lenses. Khayyam understood that different disciplines often sought to explain the same underlying realities in distinct ways. He saw that geometry and algebra were not competing methodologies, but complementary tools for uncovering mathematical truths. Similarly, he recognized that while Greek rationalism and Islamic theology came from different origins, both strove to answer fundamental questions about existence and reality. His poetic sensitivity enabled him to appreciate how varied traditions used metaphor, narrative, and symbolism to explore universal human themes. Such openness to learning also demanded emotional resilience and spiritual courage. To truly engage with ideas from beyond his native culture, Khayyam had to confront the unsettling possibility that no single tradition, his own included, held all the answers. Yet, rather than resisting this realization, he embraced it with curiosity and humility. In doing so, he did not diminish his cultural identity. He deepened it. The external knowledge he absorbed empowered him to make uniquely Persian contributions that were richer for their global foundations. Khayyam's example holds profound significance for our present era. As we navigate a world in which cultural exchange is instantaneous and pervasive, we are faced with the same essential challenge: how to integrate the world's wisdom without losing our own grounding. His legacy reminds us that the most profound insights often emerge from the meeting of diverse perspectives, not from remaining within a single tradition. In an age overflowing with information, it is not enough to merely consume knowledge. We must also learn how to combine it creatively and purposefully, just as Khayyam did. We are presented with an extraordinary opportunity to engage with the philosophical traditions of Asia, the mathematical breakthroughs of India, the scientific models of Europe, and the rich artistic heritage of Africa and the Americas. Yet, this opportunity often slips by, either because the vastness of global knowledge overwhelms us, or because we find comfort in our familiar cultural boundaries and hesitate to step into the unknown. Khayyam's insights offer a promising way forward, a method of embracing cultural plurality without losing our personal grounding or sense of purpose. This journey begins by approaching unfamiliar cultures not with uncritical acceptance or defensive doubt, but with open-minded curiosity. Every cultural tradition offers its own perspective on enduring human concerns, questions of knowledge, meaning, creativity, and connection. What's essential is not just to discover the answers they offer, but also to understand the reasoning and methods that shape those answers. True engagement requires moving beyond superficial adoption. Aim to understand each tradition well enough to appreciate its internal logic and unique contributions. Avoid the temptation to extract isolated ideas without context. At the same time, strengthen your own capacity for critical thought and creative synthesis, so you don't become a passive accumulator of ideas, but an active thinker who integrates insights meaningfully. Genuine intercultural learning is not just an intellectual pursuit. It also demands emotional strength. It requires the bravery to confront challenges to your core beliefs and to expand your worldview, experiences that may feel disorienting at first. It also asks for the humility to accept that no single culture, however profound, can fully capture the depth and complexity of human life. By following Khayyam's approach, you can transform your encounters with diverse perspectives into a deeper, more grounded version of yourself, uncovering insights and opportunities that might remain hidden within the limits of any one tradition. The goal is not to let go of your own cultural identity, but to become a vibrant bridge between cultures, someone who contributes thoughtfully and authentically to a global conversation about truth, meaning, and beauty. Part 15. Maintaining Creative Output Amid Hardship. Omar Khayyam's life stands as a remarkable testament to the power of sustained intellectual and creative activity in the face of disruption. Despite navigating periods of political chaos, social isolation, and personal trials, any of which could have halted his progress, he remained deeply engaged in his work. His ability to maintain focus on intricate, long-term endeavors while surrounded by uncertainty serves as a lasting model for those who strive to persist in meaningful work through adversity. Khayyam's enduring contributions were not solely the product of inner strength or sheer determination. Instead, they reflected a sophisticated mastery of how to structure his work and direct his attention in ways that could withstand external pressures. His life reveals that true innovation and creativity are possible even under strained conditions, provided one nurtures the right mindset and stays aligned with their core purpose. He lived during a time of severe political instability, where the loss of royal patronage was often abrupt and involvement in scholarly circles could be dangerous. After the death of his key supporter, Sultan Malik Shah, in 1092, Khayyam found himself without clear backing and facing an uncertain future. Yet, rather than retreating or giving in to despair, he recalibrated his approach, continuing to produce substantial work under less favorable circumstances. Recognizing that he had limited control over the surrounding chaos, Khayyam focused on what he could influence, his response to it. He made the conscious decision to persevere with his scholarly endeavors, understanding that persistence amidst disorder was essential. Even though his astronomical and mathematical pursuits demanded concentration and continuity, he succeeded in completing significant works during times of upheaval and relocation. He completed his renowned algebraic treatise while on the move, resettling in unfamiliar places. His elaborate calendar reform project, which required years of detailed observation, continued despite fluctuations in his official status. These accomplishments highlight his disciplined routines and mental resilience, qualities that enabled him to remain productive without waiting for ideal working conditions. He advanced steadily, making the most of the time and resources available to him. Khayyam's effectiveness during difficult times was rooted in strategies that remain profoundly relevant today. First and foremost, he pursued work driven by deep personal conviction rather than external approval or reward. This intrinsic motivation anchored his efforts, sustaining his dedication even when public recognition or institutional support was absent. Secondly, he embraced the principle of steady, incremental progress. Faced with limited stretches of uninterrupted time, he broke down complex tasks into manageable parts and continued advancing piece by piece. This method allowed him to achieve substantial results without relying on rare flashes of inspiration or extended periods of quiet. Additionally, he cultivated the ability to emotionally detach from his external circumstances when necessary. Although he likely wrestled with fear, frustration, and doubt during political turmoil and societal judgment, he did not allow these emotions to dominate his work. His poetry reveals a sensitive, introspective soul, but rather than being overwhelmed by his feelings, he transformed them into creative and philosophical insight. Khayyam treated emotional unrest as an inherent part of life, not something to be suppressed, but something to be understood and navigated. By developing emotional agility, he protected his ability to think clearly and continue working, even in the midst of psychological strain. In fact, adversity often became a catalyst for his creativity. The challenges of his environment, political instability, ideological conflict, and shifting social dynamics deepened his reflections on existence, fate, and human choice. Rather than withdrawing, he engaged directly with the volatile world around him, channeling it into profound philosophical inquiry and enriched artistic expression. Another key factor in his sustained output was his interdisciplinary agility. When progress stalled in one field, he smoothly transitioned to another, switching from mathematics to astronomy, or from scientific studies to poetry and philosophy. This intellectual breadth ensured that his creative momentum was rarely lost. If one path was temporarily blocked, another always remained open. By cultivating a broad and flexible approach to knowledge and expression, Omar Khayyam maintained his productivity across domains. His legacy illustrates that with resilience, internal clarity, and adaptive work habits, it is entirely possible to remain intellectually vibrant and creatively alive, even when faced with considerable hardship. Khayyam's life serves as a compelling blueprint for how to stay productive amidst the relentless distractions and pressures of contemporary life. In today's world, where our attention is constantly splintered by notifications, responsibilities, and demands, his example offers a path forward. Like Khayyam, we often find ourselves working under less than ideal conditions, juggling family obligations, financial burdens, health challenges, or navigating volatile social and political climates. In these moments, the typical impulse is to wait for a better time, to put off meaningful work until life becomes more manageable, or worse, to abandon our deeper goals altogether, believing the current circumstances are too overwhelming to sustain them. However, Khayyam's approach reveals that we don't have to surrender to delay or discouragement. Instead, he demonstrates that it's possible to design realistic methods for continuing our work even in difficult times. The foundation of such resilience lies in choosing work that holds intrinsic value, projects that align closely with your personal convictions and curiosity, rather than hinging on external validation or perfect conditions. When the work itself feels meaningful to you, you're far more likely to endure setbacks and keep moving forward, no matter the obstacles. Equally vital is the discipline of working in brief but concentrated intervals, particularly when long stretches of time are unavailable. Real progress is built through consistent effort over time, not merely through bursts of inspiration. It's wise, too, to cultivate a portfolio of ongoing projects. That way, if one avenue becomes temporarily inaccessible, you can shift your attention to another and continue making headway. Another essential principle is learning to separate your emotional experience from your ability to take purposeful action. Feelings of stress, fatigue, or confusion are natural and valid, but they don't have to control your behavior or halt your progress. Rather than seeing emotional turbulence as a hindrance, Khayyam reframed it as a wellspring of creative perspective and intellectual richness. In the end, meaningful work doesn't require perfect circumstances. It requires thoughtful engagement and a sustained commitment to what truly matters. Khayyam's life reminds us that progress is always possible, not because the world makes it easy, but because we choose to move forward with intention, regardless of the storm around us. Part 16. Developing Mental Flexibility while Upholding Core Beliefs. Omar Khayyam demonstrated extraordinary cognitive adaptability throughout his life, continuously evolving his perspectives and methods in light of new understanding. Despite this intellectual agility, he remained firmly grounded in essential values, most notably a dedication to truth, intellectual honesty, and sincere self-expression. This uncommon balance between open-mindedness and unwavering principle allowed him to grow in thought without losing his philosophical foundation. Khayyam's life stands as a testament to the possibility of embracing progress and innovation without surrendering to inconsistency or abandoning deeply held convictions. His readiness to consider new ideas while remaining tethered to core beliefs presents a powerful example for those navigating complexity in an age where both rigid orthodoxy and opportunistic flexibility can lead to failure. His receptiveness to change was particularly evident in his academic endeavors. Rather than holding on to his initial theories out of pride or tradition, Khayyam was willing to revise them when more convincing reasoning or clearer data emerged. In mathematics, he consistently refined his solutions, enhancing them through careful reasoning and empirical testing, instead of staying loyal to earlier versions for their own sake. As he advanced his work in solving algebraic equations through geometric means, Khayyam's methods progressed through a series of increasingly sophisticated stages. These developments were not arbitrary. Each was anchored in his enduring commitment to logical rigor and methodological precision. His contributions to astronomy were guided by the same principles. When confronted with inconsistencies in existing calendar systems and astronomical measurements, Khayyam did not hesitate to move beyond traditional frameworks. His central role in creating the Jalali calendar marked a decisive departure from earlier models, yet the work was thoroughly grounded in his relentless pursuit of accuracy and empirical reliability, a hallmark of all his scientific achievements. He willingly adjusted his techniques, but his loyalty to truth, clarity, and precision remained untouched. This synthesis of openness and steadfastness was equally present in his philosophical reflections and poetic expressions. In these realms, Khayyam showed an ongoing openness to exploring diverse perspectives and revising his views as his understanding of life's deeper questions evolved. His poetry reveals a thinker in constant dialogue with himself, unafraid to reshape his beliefs in light of new experiences. Even as his views shifted over time, several ethical and intellectual tenets remained unshaken. His insistence on sincerity, his rejection of dogmatism, and his reverence for beauty, human connection, and existential inquiry. These enduring convictions offered a sense of unity and coherence as his individual interpretations matured and changed. Khayyam's adaptability was not limited to intellectual life. It extended to how he managed external changes and uncertainties. When political transitions threatened his support networks, he adjusted course, seeking new patrons and recalibrating his professional strategies to fit different circumstances. In instances where public displays of religious observance were necessary, he complied, such as undertaking the pilgrimage to Mecca, but remained quietly committed to his own philosophical perspectives in private. He became adept at navigating social and political expectations without compromising his inner convictions. Doing so required not only emotional intelligence, but also a deep and honest self-awareness. Khayyam had to carefully distinguish between the aspects of his worldview that were essential and those that could evolve in response to new realities or understanding. This clarity empowered him to hold fast to his foundational values while remaining intellectually flexible. He could revise his stance on particular matters without experiencing a crisis of identity or losing his sense of purpose. This depth of self-knowledge gave him the strength to continue evolving while preserving the coherence and integrity of his beliefs. Khayyam's intellectual openness was rooted in his recognition that ultimate truth is greater than any single theory or perspective. He understood that genuine wisdom requires not only firm initial convictions, but also the humility to release them when they are proven inadequate. His willingness to be corrected and his eagerness to revise his views when warranted reveal a man committed not to being right, but to uncovering what is real. His dedication to a scientific approach extended far beyond academic or technical pursuits. It fundamentally influenced how he navigated philosophical questions and personal trials. This mindset not only enhanced his ability to learn, but also made him someone others relied on for measured, insightful perspectives. He understood that genuine intellectual flexibility, when grounded in firm ethical foundations, serves the search for truth rather than undermines it. In a world marked by constant change, nurturing this balance between adaptability and steadfastness is arguably more challenging and more vital than ever. We are living in an era of unrelenting change, where holding on to enduring values can seem either unrealistic or overly idealistic. As we're bombarded with ever-evolving information, shifting social narratives, and conflicting worldviews, our assumptions are under continuous scrutiny. The danger lies in veering toward one of two extremes, either stubbornly clinging to old beliefs out of fear or becoming so open to every new idea that we lose sight of our identity and convictions. What Khayyam's life illustrates is that we are not confined to these extremes. He shows us that it is entirely possible to stay anchored in fundamental values while still allowing for growth in our perspectives and decision-making. The key lies in clearly identifying the principles that define your character and guide your moral decisions. Values such as honesty, empathy, justice, a sense of beauty, or a devotion to truth. These core ideals must be distinguished from the more flexible parts of your worldview, such as political preferences, approaches to relationships, or career strategies. Those more situational beliefs and methods should evolve as you encounter new experiences and insights, but your central values should remain constant. This approach enables you to adapt thoughtfully to change while maintaining a deep and coherent sense of purpose. Equally important is cultivating what might be called principled open-mindedness, the capacity to remain receptive to new ideas and evidence while consistently filtering them through the lens of your most cherished values. Like Khayyam, you should revise your views when better arguments or clearer facts emerge, not out of uncertainty, but because of a deep loyalty to what truly matters. Finding this equilibrium won't just strengthen your ability to learn and grow. It will make you someone whose insight and dependability others can genuinely trust. Adaptability, when guided by principle, becomes a strength born of wisdom. The goal isn't to achieve flawless consistency or unbounded openness, but rather to embody a thoughtful flexibility that enables continual development without ever compromising on integrity or direction. Part 17. Shaping Beauty from Life's Struggles. Omar Khayyam faced the trials, contradictions, and sorrows of existence not by retreating into despair or detachment, but by creating works of lasting beauty. Rather than succumbing to bitterness, disillusionment, or emotional numbness, he confronted life's harshest truths: death, political instability, and philosophical doubt, and turned them into sources of artistic vision. Instead of being stifled by adversity, Khayyam drew creative strength from it. His life stands as a testament to how crafting beauty can be a profound response to suffering, not a way of avoiding pain, but a courageous method of transforming it into something meaningful for both creator and audience. This philosophy casts art as a force of resilience and resistance, providing a compass through turmoil and uncertainty. Khayyam's most celebrated poetry explores impermanence, ambiguity, and grief. Yet these verses are not remembered for their melancholy, but for their exquisite refinement. When contemplating life's transience and the inevitability of death, he didn't collapse into hopelessness. Instead, he shaped these reflections into luminous images and metaphors, turning grim realities into gateways for insight and lyrical power. His meditations on mortality became declarations of presence and vitality. His acceptance of life's unpredictability evolved into an invitation to savor the fleeting beauty of the present. Rather than allowing chaos to erode his spirit, he used it as creative propulsion, composing works that continue to resonate with readers centuries later. This was not naive cheerfulness, nor a denial of pain. It was a fearless and honest artistic reckoning with life's most difficult truths. Khayyam never pretended that life was easy, nor did he claim that every problem could be solved. But he refused to let hardship define his perspective. Through his poetry, he demonstrated that the human imagination has the ability to reshape even the most painful experiences into something insightful and redemptive. His work serves as a kind of spiritual alchemy, revealing how the intellect can transmute suffering into clarity and emotional richness. This creative ethos also shaped his contributions to mathematics and astronomy. When traditional methods fell short in solving cubic equations, Khayyam broke new ground with inventive geometric approaches that advanced mathematical theory. Similarly, when existing calendars proved inaccurate, he collaborated on the development of a more precise and harmonious system, rooted in a deep understanding of cosmic cycles. At the heart of both his artistic and scientific endeavors was a single impulse: to bring light, structure, and beauty to areas clouded by confusion or obscurity. This was far from a passive undertaking. It demanded emotional courage, the strength to face life's uncertainties with open eyes. Khayyam did not avert his gaze from mortality, sorrow, or doubt. He absorbed them fully and reimagined them through the lens of creativity. This emotional openness gave his work a level of sincerity and depth that could not have been achieved through detachment or denial. He recognized that creating beauty in response to suffering is not a luxury. It is a vital, humanizing act. His poetry became a refuge and a source of connection for others grappling with fear, uncertainty, and grief. In the same way, his scientific legacy enriched humanity's understanding of the elegant order underlying the universe. By channeling his personal challenges into creative and intellectual labor, Khayyam forged a body of work that not only showcased his own resilience, but also offered others a model for navigating hardship with wisdom and strength. Even amid the most chaotic and painful chapters of his life, the act of creation offered him both sanctuary and meaning. His purpose did not depend on fame or external approval. It was rooted in his capacity to respond imaginatively and truthfully to whatever life presented. Through this inner wellspring of creativity, Omar Khayyam produced a legacy that continues to reveal the beauty, complexity, and enduring hope woven into the human condition. An inner reservoir of meaning empowered Khayyam to endure the ever-changing tides of external circumstances. His life serves as an enduring example of how to cultivate creativity and hope amid an era defined by turmoil and complexity. In our contemporary world, we are relentlessly exposed to disturbing news, accounts of suffering, injustice, ecological decline, and deep social unrest that can easily leave us feeling helpless, disillusioned, or emotionally withdrawn. Faced with this deluge of distressing realities, many people fall into one of two common responses: paralysis in the face of overwhelming problems, or a retreat into distraction, turning to entertainment, consumer indulgences, or digital escapes to numb the discomfort. Yet, Khayyam demonstrates a more courageous alternative, a path that embraces hardship as a raw material for creative expression, transforming suffering into a wellspring of meaning and beauty. This is not a naive denial of the world's pain, nor a claim that creativity can solve every crisis. Rather, it is an invitation to respond to adversity through acts of imagination, to confront life's difficulties by producing work and actions that are rich with significance and purpose. Whether it takes the form of art, innovation, empathy, or thoughtful engagement with complex challenges, you can follow Khayyam's example by crafting something valuable from your trials. In doing so, you not only build your own resilience, but also contribute something life-affirming to the broader human story, something that can inspire, comfort, or illuminate others. The first step is to recognize that the obstacles you encounter are not merely burdens to endure, but possible sources of creative force. Examine the struggles in your own life, be they related to love, career, health, or meaning, and consider how these experiences might fuel artistic exploration, original thinking, or emotional insight that could connect with others who walk similar paths. Like Khayyam, you hold the capacity to transform personal pain into wisdom and expression, offering beauty and truth that enrich the collective understanding of how to navigate hardship with dignity and imagination. This approach is not about escaping the real world, but about engaging with it more profoundly, searching, even in the bleakest moments, for the flickers of meaning and the seeds of renewal. Part 18. Mastering Time Management Across Multiple Endeavors. Omar Khayyam's remarkable legacy across mathematics, astronomy, philosophy, and poetry reveals an extraordinary command over time and attention. His capacity to make sustained, high-level contributions in several intellectually rigorous fields without compromising depth or falling prey to burnout demonstrates a carefully cultivated method of managing multiple complex pursuits. Rather than extending his working hours indiscriminately, Khayyam operated with deliberate focus and strategic clarity. He recognized that different disciplines could intersect and enhance each other, instead of competing for mental bandwidth. His life stands as a model of how one can pursue excellence across diverse arenas by weaving them together into a cohesive intellectual tapestry. In the realm of mathematics, Khayyam immersed himself in abstract, long-range problems that demanded both patience and innovation. His pioneering work on solving cubic equations through geometric constructions exemplified this, requiring him to develop novel techniques through extensive exploration and iterative refinement. At the same time, his astronomical research called for a different kind of rigor, ongoing observation, precise measurement, and alignment with the rhythms of the heavens. Conversely, his engagement with literature and philosophy required a more intuitive and emotive mindset. These activities called upon his sensitivity to beauty, meaning, and human experience. Yet instead of compartmentalizing these pursuits, Khayyam found harmony among them. His philosophical meditations, poetic reflections, and scientific inquiries were not isolated efforts. They were interwoven and mutually enriching. His analytical precision in mathematics lent greater accuracy to his celestial calculations. In turn, his observations of cosmic patterns informed his reflections on time, impermanence, and the nature of reality. His poetic sensibility enabled him to see elegance in mathematical solutions, while his logical training provided structure to his artistic expressions. This interplay created a dynamic feedback loop in which progress in one area often catalyzed insights in another. Khayyam was also astutely attuned to his cognitive rhythms and adapted his workflow accordingly. He likely allocated his highest energy hours, typically mornings, to the mentally taxing demands of mathematics. Astronomical activities, governed by the positions and movements of celestial bodies, were scheduled around specific nights and seasons. Meanwhile, the introspective nature of poetry and philosophy made them ideal for quieter, more contemplative moments, when emotion and reflection could guide his thoughts. He mastered the art of balancing long-term commitments with the unpredictability of creative insight. Many of his breakthroughs emerged after extended periods of disciplined effort, punctuated by moments of sudden inspiration. Khayyam ensured that his schedule had enough flexibility to accommodate these bursts of creativity, while also maintaining steady progress on more methodical tasks. He understood that peak productivity arises from working in sync with one's natural cycles of inspiration and focus. Imposing rigid structures on creative processes would have inhibited the spontaneous flow of ideas that led to his greatest innovations. Efficiency also played a crucial role in Khayyam's productivity. He was meticulous about building upon previous work, reducing the need to start from scratch. Mathematical insights laid the foundation for faster and more accurate astronomical calculations. His philosophical frameworks helped him interpret complex data without retracing conceptual ground. In addition, his growing reputation granted him access to intellectual collaborators and shared resources, further multiplying the impact of his efforts. Above all, what sustained Khayyam's dedication across multiple demanding fields was the deep personal meaning he found in each endeavor. His drive was fueled not by a desire for recognition or acclaim, but by a profound inner curiosity and a genuine passion for uncovering truths. This intrinsic motivation carried him through times of slow progress or minimal external validation, continually replenished by the satisfaction of discovery itself. Driven by a profound curiosity and an unwavering commitment to uncovering truth, his work was fueled by deeper motivations than mere ambition or duty. This foundational mindset not only made his accomplishments more enduring, but also significantly amplified their impact. Today, Khayyam's way of navigating diverse responsibilities offers timeless guidance for managing the growing complexities of modern professional and personal life. In today's world, we often find ourselves stretched thin, balancing careers, family obligations, personal aspirations, and community involvement, while trying to maintain excellence and avoid exhaustion. It's common to either become overly fixated on one domain at the expense of others, or to spread ourselves so thin that real progress becomes elusive. Khayyam's life illustrates that these sacrifices aren't always necessary if we learn to approach our commitments with intentional integration. The solution begins with understanding that the various areas of our lives can support and enrich each other rather than compete for dominance. Consider how your different roles and projects might align to create mutual benefit. Look for overlapping skills, insights, and tools that bridge your work, personal life, and community engagement. Reflect on how your career can inform your creative outlets, how hobbies might enhance your cognitive abilities, and how service to others can invigorate your professional direction. Instead of forcing all activities into a one-size-fits-all routine, craft your schedule to reflect your natural energy patterns and the specific needs of each commitment. At the same time, remain rooted in what makes each part of your life feel truly significant. Let your actions be led by genuine interest and deeply held values, not by outside expectations or a quest for approval. Adopting this mindset, as Khayyam exemplified, allows you to maintain steady progress across many areas of life with greater intention and focus. When your drive comes from within, it becomes a more sustainable source of energy, enabling you to harmonize your responsibilities in ways that fuel your overall development and influence. The goal isn't to do everything, it's to fully engage with what matters most, bringing depth, excellence, and alignment to all that you pursue, without falling into stress or superficiality. Part 19. Building Emotional Resilience Through Philosophical Reflection. Omar Khayyam developed a remarkable capacity for emotional resilience, not by evading hardship or suppressing difficult emotions, but through a deeply rooted philosophical outlook that allowed him to interpret life's challenges within a wider framework of meaning and significance. His meditations on existence, the connection between individual experience and the broader movements of the cosmos, and the scope and boundaries of human agency granted him the inner balance needed to weather adversity with composure. This integration of emotional insight and philosophical thought provides a powerful example of true resilience, one that avoids the traps of denial or escapism, instead encouraging a deeper understanding of our place within an intricate, interconnected universe. Khayyam's perspective illustrates how emotional strength and philosophical clarity can support and enhance one another when brought into alignment. His resilience emerged from an honest confrontation with life's inherent uncertainties and limitations. Rather than seeking comfort in false certainties or rigid beliefs, he learned to accept ambiguity and act with purpose even in the absence of guaranteed outcomes. His poetry reveals a consciousness that had faced the impermanence of life and discovered how to appreciate its beauty without grasping for permanence or illusion. This clarity of thought released emotional resources that might otherwise have been consumed in resisting what could not be changed. His awareness of the immense scale of cosmic time, combined with a scientific understanding of human life, allowed him to contextualize his personal hardships within a much greater story, without diminishing the genuine emotional weight of those experiences. When confronted with political persecution or societal rejection, Khayyam could draw on this expanded perspective to view such events as transient episodes within much larger cycles of transformation and renewal. Crucially, this cosmic awareness did not detach him from the present moment. On the contrary, it sharpened his engagement with reality, helping him maintain perspective and avoid being overwhelmed. He was able to face his difficulties with seriousness without allowing them to distort his emotional landscape. His philosophical approach enabled him to distinguish between the aspects of life he could influence and those he could not. This discernment helped him direct his energy and emotions toward what truly mattered. He recognized that he couldn't control political outcomes, shift public opinion, or ensure the future reception of his work, but he could control how he responded, the depth of his attention, and his fidelity to his core principles. This clarity about the limits of personal power reduced unnecessary suffering and enabled him to act with greater purpose, even within the confines of external constraints. Khayyam took ownership of what was within his control and relinquished attachment to results shaped by forces beyond his reach. His ability to merge rational analysis with emotional awareness further strengthened his resilience. He developed the capacity to trace the roots of his emotions, uncovering their meanings and the values behind them. Rather than being overtaken by fear, grief, or anger, he learned to observe such emotions attentively, seeing them as natural responses that revealed important truths about his needs and priorities. This reflective stance toward emotion enabled him to grow even through pain rather than being ensnared by it. It gave him the clarity and strength to meet difficulty with wisdom. He understood emotions to be transient and meaningful, worthy of acknowledgement, but not infallible guides for decision-making. Another key source of Khayyam's resilience was his ability to derive fulfillment from intellectual and creative exploration. Regardless of outer turmoil, whether political unrest or social exclusion, he found deep satisfaction in mathematics, astronomy, and poetry. These pursuits offered him a stable wellspring of meaning that did not depend on recognition or ideal circumstances, but instead flowed from his genuine engagement with profound questions and artistic expression. This intrinsic sense of purpose provided a lasting foundation for his emotional stability. It insulated him from the volatility of public opinion and external events, allowing him to stay grounded in the pursuits that mattered most to him. Khayyam's deep philosophical understanding of mortality profoundly influenced his emotional resilience, enabling him to maintain perspective through both life's joys and sorrows. By fully grasping the fleeting nature of every experience, he was able to embrace happiness without clinging to it and face suffering without succumbing to hopelessness, knowing that both would inevitably pass. Rather than destabilizing him, his acceptance of life's impermanence became a powerful source of inner balance. Abandoning the futile desire for permanence and the fear of change, he liberated himself from the exhausting need to control the uncontrollable. Instead of seeking security in fixed outcomes, he placed his trust in his own capacity to respond with flexibility and creativity to whatever arose. In this way, Khayyam's philosophical stance offers a profound and enduring model for cultivating emotional strength, one rooted not in avoidance, but in depth of understanding. His perspective provides a sharp contrast to the superficial optimism that glosses over life's real struggles, as well as to therapeutic approaches that focus primarily on short-term symptom relief without addressing the roots of emotional suffering. In today's world, resilience is often sought through distraction, consumption, or a form of forced positivity that shies away from life's deeper uncertainties. Alternatively, we may lean too heavily on psychological tools for emotional regulation, forgetting that these methods are only part of the picture and cannot substitute for thoughtful engagement with the nature of our experiences. What Khayyam offers is a more integrated path, one that infuses emotional development with philosophical reflection. It begins by asking essential questions. What is the nature of change? How much control do we truly have? What defines success or failure? How do our personal struggles connect to larger patterns of existence? This process is not about aligning with any particular doctrine, but about thoughtfully examining the core beliefs that shape our emotional lives. It is also worth considering how a scientific understanding of time, space, and natural law might alter your perspective on adversity. Grounding yourself in clearly defined values and a purposeful direction can create a sense of stability even amid upheaval. Like Khayyam, you can learn to build resilience not by denying pain or chasing permanence, but by cultivating a wise and grounded approach to life, one that meets each challenge with presence, clarity, and deliberate action. Part 20. Balancing Seclusion and Sociability. Omar Khayyam exhibited a remarkable talent for navigating the tension between solitude, which nurtures deep intellectual work, and social interaction, which grounds that work in relevance and fosters collaboration. Over the course of his life, he alternated seamlessly between immersive periods of private contemplation and active participation in public and scholarly communities. This ability to harmonize introspection with connection allowed Khayyam to generate original ideas in isolation, then refine and expand them through engagement with others. The dialogue he embraced provided critical feedback, alternative viewpoints, and mutual encouragement. His life demonstrates that significant intellectual and personal development flourishes not in complete isolation or perpetual social immersion, but in a careful synthesis of both. In fields like mathematics and astronomy, Khayyam's achievements demanded extended phases of focused, solitary effort. His groundbreaking work on solving cubic equations through geometric methods required intense experimentation and precision, tasks that only silence and concentration could support. Likewise, his meticulous astronomical observations depended on uninterrupted attention over many nights, far from the distractions of social life. Yet these solitary pursuits were not acts of withdrawal, but necessary stages in creating advancements that benefited broader society, such as improved mathematical frameworks and more accurate calendars. Khayyam was well aware that isolation, if not counterbalanced, could limit intellectual vitality. His engagement in initiatives like calendar reform and his involvement in the royal court allowed him to test theoretical insights in practical settings and adapt his knowledge for public use. Conversations with peers and students challenged him to articulate his ideas more clearly and to consider interpretations he might not have reached alone. Rather than obstructing his progress, these exchanges enriched his understanding by adding depth, prompting new questions, and reinforcing the societal value of his findings. Khayyam's poetic output also reflects this ongoing interplay between inner meditation and outer engagement. While his verses stemmed from private ruminations on impermanence, beauty, and existence, they resonate precisely because they speak to shared human concerns. His ability to convey such themes with emotional authenticity was strengthened by his openness to connection, even with the full awareness of its fleeting nature. His philosophical call to live fully in the present moment emerged from both solitary reflection and collective experience, through joy, dialogue, and companionship. This duality shaped his approach to controversial or nuanced subjects. In solitude, he found the freedom to think independently, unconstrained by prevailing ideologies. At the same time, his interactions with others helped him sharpen his expression, test his assumptions, and gauge how best to convey complex or sensitive insights. Khayyam's success in maintaining independent thought while remaining engaged with his intellectual and social environment stemmed from his keen awareness of when each mode, withdrawal or interaction, was most appropriate. Accounts of his increasing solitude later in life suggest a natural shift aligned with the evolving demands of his inquiries. This phase did not represent a retreat from society, but rather an understanding that different seasons of life and different types of intellectual labor require different balances. His decision to favor depth over recognition reveals a deep commitment to substance over fame. Even during his most reclusive years, his writings remained profoundly human and continued to touch the minds and hearts of others, extending his influence well beyond his immediate circle. The equilibrium he achieved between solitude and sociability was not accidental. It required deep introspection and a refined sensitivity to human connection. Khayyam was compelled to develop a profound sensitivity to his own internal rhythms and the differing demands of time, energy, and engagement. He needed to recognize when to withdraw into concentrated solitude for deep, uninterrupted work, and when to step forward and engage with others to exchange ideas, gather insight, and put his concepts into practical motion. Central to this journey was his ability to transition fluidly between introspective isolation and outward interaction, avoiding the extremes of emotional detachment or dependence on external validation. Part of this challenge involved sustaining meaningful relationships, even as his availability often fluctuated. He learned how to remain present and genuine in social settings without compromising his intellectual authenticity or sacrificing personal integrity. In a time when society frequently pressures us toward either constant connectivity or protective withdrawal, Khayyam's approach offers essential guidance for cultivating a more mindful and deliberate existence. The emergence of digital platforms and social networks has opened unprecedented doors to connection and collaboration. Yet, these same tools often disrupt the sustained solitude needed for deep thought and original creation. Meanwhile, the relentless speed and intricacy of modern life can lead to emotional exhaustion, driving many to disconnect from genuine human interaction altogether. Khayyam's experience reveals that gravitating too far toward either non-stop engagement or total seclusion can hinder both authentic expression and meaningful contribution. Striking a healthier balance begins with a candid self-assessment. How do you currently allocate your time between solitude and interaction? Are both domains receiving the care and space they require to foster your intellectual development, relationships, and sense of belonging? Many people today are inundated by superficial social interactions, yet starved of the quietude essential for genuine reflection and insight. Others, though spending ample time alone, may miss the energizing effects of community, affirmation, constructive feedback, and opportunities to share their ideas. Like Khayyam, you may need to deliberately carve out space for both solitude and engagement, cultivating the adaptability to shift between them as your circumstances and aspirations evolve. Rather than viewing solitude and connection as opposing forces, consider how they might work in tandem. Let your time alone serve as a space to process, reflect, and generate insights. Then, bring those insights into conversation, where they can be tested, expanded, and reshaped by dialogue and collaboration. This ongoing exchange, solitude enriching interaction, and interaction deepening solitude, can transform your creative, intellectual, and relational life. Whether you're engaged in creative pursuits, nurturing relationships, or wrestling with complex ideas, your efforts will likely be more fruitful if you integrate the depth of solitary reflection with the perspective that arises through meaningful human connection. Remember that this balance isn't fixed. It will shift throughout your life, shaped by your age, responsibilities, personal growth, and changing needs. By following Khayyam's example, You can learn to recalibrate this dynamic with intention, rather than allowing social norms or digital distractions to set the terms. The goal isn't to maintain a flawless balance at all times, but to stay attuned to both dimensions, ensuring that neither your inner development nor your outward engagement is neglected in the long run. Through conscious attention to both solitude and community, you can enrich your personal evolution and expand your capacity to contribute meaningfully to the people, ideas, and causes that matter most. Part 21. Let adversity become your guide. Omar Khayyam's journey through life was marked by profound trials, ranging from political unrest and religious persecution to public scrutiny and personal disappointment. Yet he consistently managed to turn these obstacles into sources of reflection and self-betterment. Rather than yielding to bitterness or despair, Khayyam chose to engage deeply with adversity, treating each hardship as an opportunity for growth and insight. He approached life's challenges not with resignation or rebellion, but with conscious engagement. His response to difficulty was deliberate and introspective. He sought to discover what each experience could teach him about himself, human nature, and the structure of the world. This thoughtful stance enabled him to draw meaning even from painful circumstances. Rather than being diminished by hardship, he emerged stronger, more resilient, more lucid, and better equipped to make a lasting impact. Khayyam's life illustrates how, if met with awareness and sincerity, adversity can evolve into one of life's most profound instructors, not simply an affliction to survive or push back against. His brushes with political instability revealed to him the volatile nature of external authority and the importance of building an internal foundation of strength and purpose. After the death of his patron, Sultan Malik Shah, and the consequent loss of political favor, Khayyam might have responded with bitterness or disillusionment. His contributions and loyalty seemingly unrewarded, he could have become embittered. Instead, he chose to reflect on the impermanence of status and influence, learning to emotionally detach from what lay beyond his control. His philosophical writings reveal an acute understanding of how unpredictable fortune can be and how fragile external achievements truly are, wisdom that could only have been born of personal experience. Likewise, the resistance he encountered from religious authorities due to his unconventional ideas instilled in him a profound sense of intellectual courage and the cost of challenging entrenched beliefs. Rather than retreating or hiding his thoughts, Khayyam learned to navigate societal constraints while remaining true to himself. When accusations of heresy eventually led to his coerced pilgrimage to Mecca, the experience became pivotal. It exposed him to the powerful forces of conformity and helped him understand the delicate balance required to maintain integrity amid intense social pressures. Such trials expanded his grasp of both the inner workings of the human mind and the broader patterns that govern societies, knowledge that extended far beyond what formal education alone could offer. His professional frustrations also became catalysts for personal development. When his innovative mathematical theories were initially overlooked or misinterpreted, Khayyam gained clarity on the importance of effective communication and the patience needed to build credibility for new ideas. The criticism he faced regarding his astronomical revisions, particularly from defenders of older calendar systems, taught him that institutions often resist reform. From these encounters, he learned to introduce change with strategic foresight, increasing the chances of acceptance. These experiences sharpened his understanding of collaboration, persuasion, and the dynamics of institutional transformation, skills that amplified his influence as both a thinker and a reformer. But perhaps the most powerful lessons came through his confrontations with mortality. The deaths of close friends, colleagues, and patrons could easily have pushed him toward emotional detachment or hopelessness. Yet instead of withdrawing, Khayyam responded with a deeper appreciation for beauty, connection, and impermanence. He learned to value love and companionship without clinging to guarantees of longevity or certainty. His verses on death reveal a nuanced awareness that could only be forged through personal grief and the fragility of human bonds. Rather than turning away from life, his reflections on mortality led him to embrace it more fully, engaging with existence more vividly and authentically. Khayyam's ability to learn from adversity was rooted in guiding principles that turned suffering into substance. First, he remained inquisitive, seeking not just to overcome difficulties, but to understand what they could teach. He recognized that pain often unlocks doors to truths inaccessible in times of ease, and that those hard-won revelations often carry enduring value. Second, he looked for recurring patterns and deeper meaning within his struggles, rather than treating them as isolated or senseless misfortunes. He consistently placed his personal difficulties within a larger framework, drawing on his scientific knowledge and historical insight to understand suffering not as a mark of failure or divine condemnation, but as a natural element of the human condition and the cosmic order. Khayyam developed a richer understanding of adversity by learning to view it from a broader perspective, one that allowed him to draw valuable lessons without being overwhelmed by the difficulty itself. This shift in perception helped him stay grounded and hopeful, even during tough times. He began to interpret painful experiences not as defining failures, but as temporary phases within a larger journey of self-discovery, transformation, and personal advancement. Instead of merely surviving difficult moments or repeating unproductive patterns, Khayyam deliberately sought out fresh approaches and viewpoints. When a mathematical problem defied his initial attempts, he didn't stubbornly persist with the same flawed tactic. Instead, he re-envisioned the problem by experimenting with new geometric interpretations. In his social life, he also refused to rely on behaviors that left him feeling exposed or disconnected. He evolved his responses, finding creative ways to stay authentic while successfully engaging with social dynamics. This willingness to innovate turned adversity into a training ground for growth, helping him develop new skills and strategies that prepared him for future obstacles. Today, Khayyam's approach stands as a compelling example of how to navigate the unavoidable difficulties of a life rooted in purpose and meaning. Too often, we treat hardships as urgent problems that need immediate solutions or as obstructions to be eliminated as quickly as possible. In doing so, we often lose sight of the personal growth and wisdom that struggle can offer. At other times, we become so consumed by the emotional burden of hardship that we overlook the deeper truths these moments might hold. Khayyam's experience suggests a more thoughtful route, one that acknowledges the pain and difficulty of life while also recognizing their potential to foster insight and evolution. When you're faced with a major challenge, begin by asking what this experience might be trying to show you. What lessons does it offer about your character, your relationships, or the complexities of the world around you? What insights into human behavior, social dynamics, or practical problem-solving might only be accessible through direct personal experience? Insights no textbook or lecture could fully provide. Look for patterns or guiding principles that extend beyond the immediate issue and may apply across other areas of your life. Keep things in perspective by placing your challenges within the larger context of human development. Avoid viewing adversity as evidence of personal failure or as an unfair burden targeted only at you. Approach difficult situations as experiments. Rather than accepting suffering as your only option or sticking with strategies that have proven ineffective, be open to trying new responses. Let adversity reveal hidden strengths, test your convictions, and build capacities you may not have known you possessed. Like Khayyam, you can use hardship as a catalyst for wisdom and resilience, turning it into a force that enriches your own life and empowers you to positively impact others. This is not to suggest that hardship should be sought out or glorified. Rather, it encourages a mindset that embraces the challenges life naturally presents, especially those you've chosen to confront, as chances to uncover meaning, grow deeply, and extract enduring value. Part 22. Cultivating a Lifelong Spirit of Wonder and Curiosity. Omar Khayyam embodied a remarkable and enduring sense of wonder that remained with him throughout his life. This unwavering curiosity not only drove his revolutionary advances in mathematics and astronomy, but also deeply influenced his poetic reflections on beauty, existence, and purpose. His enchantment with the world was not a leftover impulse from childhood. It was a deliberate intellectual and emotional stance that he saw as essential to meaningful learning and living. Khayyam did not treat curiosity and wonder as luxuries reserved for the idle or the young. He viewed them as fundamental aspects of being human, qualities that could enrich every part of life when deliberately nurtured. For him, life itself was a continuous source of profound questions and astonishing discoveries, turning everyday experience into a lifelong journey of growth and imagination. His fascination with mathematics was born from a genuine amazement at the hidden elegance within numbers and geometric forms. Khayyam's groundbreaking work with cubic equations did not stem from academic duty, but from an intense desire to explore the mysterious relationship between algebra and geometry, territory that few others dared to navigate. This passion allowed him to see patterns others missed and gave him the perseverance to pursue bold, innovative insights through long and challenging work. His contributions to mathematics reflected a deep love for abstract thought, rather than a focus on mechanical problem-solving or rote technique. A similar spirit guided his efforts in astronomy, where his awe at the scale and order of the universe inspired him to uncover the rhythms of celestial motion with astonishing accuracy. His exceptionally precise calculation of the solar year was not just a technical improvement to the calendar. It expressed a profound respect for humanity's ability to understand and measure the vast workings of the cosmos. The years he spent making careful observations were motivated by a deep hunger for truth, a desire to see the universe as it actually is, not merely as it had been assumed to be by tradition. This cosmic curiosity gave Khayyam both intellectual depth and spiritual insight. It heightened his awareness of consciousness itself, a rare phenomenon through which finite human beings can engage with the timeless principles of nature and mathematics. His poetry reveals a mind that never ceased to explore life's deepest mysteries, refusing to accept easy answers or to fall into despair. In his verses, he wrestles with themes like mortality, love, meaning, and beauty, not as abstract or tired topics, but with the energy of someone encountering them anew, even after a lifetime of contemplation. His ability to approach age-old questions with renewed vision kept his thinking dynamic and protected it from stagnation or dogma. Khayyam's sense of wonder also extended to his perception of other people. He avoided falling into cynicism or reducing individuals to narrow categories. Instead, he remained captivated by the complexity and uniqueness of human nature. His reflections on friendship suggest a profound amazement at the mystery of connection, the astonishing fact that separate consciousnesses can reach across their solitude to understand and care for one another. This interpersonal curiosity enriched his relationships and fed his deeper thinking about empathy, language, and social bonds. His reverence for life also embraced the small and the everyday. Where others might have ignored or dismissed simple joys, Khayyam found deep delight. His celebrated verses on bread, wine, and companionship convey an authentic wonder at how much joy and beauty can be found in the present moment. He was inspired by the turning of the seasons, the play of light and shadow, the taste of food, and the sound of music. By approaching ordinary experiences with a sense of discovery, Khayyam elevated the mundane into the meaningful. This mindset kept his life from becoming dull or repetitive, and it provided a constant source of creative and intellectual energy for both his scientific achievements and poetic insights. Cultivating a deep sense of wonder and curiosity requires intentional practice and consistent dedication, especially amid the distractions of daily life and the inertia of accumulated experience. These pressures can gradually dull our ability to engage with the world in fresh and meaningful ways. Khayyam understood that wonder is not a passive or automatic response. Rather, it's a mindset that must be consciously nurtured, sustained through effort, and renewed over time. He developed a deliberate habit of seeing the ordinary with fresh eyes, continually exploring new aspects of the familiar that might otherwise be taken for granted or ignored. Through this kind of purposeful attention, he maintained a lifelong openness to learning and discovery, deliberately resisting the drift into habitual thought and perception. For Khayyam, keeping his sense of wonder alive also involved embracing what could be called intentional unknowing, an awareness of just how much remained mysterious and unexplored. He didn't see this as a limitation, but as a source of inspiration. The vast expanse of what he had yet to understand motivated him rather than overwhelmed him. This humility in the face of the unknown became a driving force. It pushed him to ask deeper questions and to keep expanding his intellectual and creative boundaries. He welcomed uncertainty, allowing it to guide his curiosity instead of hinder it. Through sharp observation, rigorous thinking, and creative synthesis, he worked to broaden the scope of human understanding, Khayyam found meaning not only in reaching conclusions, but also in the process of exploration itself, posing questions, testing ideas, and uncovering new insights. His approach offers a compelling model for how to maintain intellectual vitality and emotional depth throughout one's life. While many people accept the notion that curiosity and wonder belong only to childhood, inevitably worn away by age and routine, Khayyam proved otherwise. He showed that these qualities can, in fact, deepen with time, so long as they are intentionally preserved. In an age saturated with information, yet often dominated by sameness and distraction, actively choosing to cultivate wonder is more essential than ever for sustaining creativity, lifelong learning, and a genuine engagement with the world around us. We can begin by reawakening our attention to what we usually overlook, finding fresh meaning in routine experiences and everyday encounters. When eating, for example, truly taste each bite, as if discovering the flavors anew. When speaking with longtime friends or colleagues, remain open to their continued growth and evolving perspectives, instead of assuming you already know everything about them. Likewise, when presented with unfamiliar ideas or information, whether in your profession or personal pursuits, meet them with genuine curiosity. Ask what deeper patterns or implications might be hidden beneath the surface. Just as important is the honest recognition of your current limits. But rather than letting that awareness lead to discouragement, let it energize your desire to grow. Like Khayyam, you can learn to find joy in the vast unknown. Recognizing how much remains to be discovered can become a source of momentum rather than a cause for hesitation. Whether you are investigating scientific problems, creating art, exploring philosophical questions, or simply navigating everyday life, a mindset steeped in curiosity and wonder will elevate not only your understanding, but also the richness of your lived experience, no matter which path you take. Part 23. Unearthing the Sacred Within the Ordinary. Omar Khayyam possessed a remarkable ability to discern spiritual depth and profound significance in the most commonplace aspects of life. To him, the sacred was not a distant or mystical realm, it was something revealed through mindful engagement with everyday experiences. His poetry elevates life's simplest pleasures, bread, wine, friendship, and nature, not as mere indulgences, but as gateways to universal truths and deeper understanding. For Khayyam, these daily encounters were not isolated incidents, but manifestations of a grander cosmic order. He saw intimate, personal moments as intrinsically connected to the vast processes shaping the universe. This vision allowed him to meet life with reverence and appreciation, even amid hardship. His sense of purpose wasn't dependent on extraordinary achievements or perfect circumstances. It was found in the ever-present potential for wonder, clarity, and insight within the ordinary. His worldview remains a lasting reminder that spiritual abundance lies not in far-off ideals, but in the reality we already occupy. Khayyam's scientific endeavors were deeply intertwined with his spiritual convictions. He believed the natural world held sacred structures waiting to be discovered. His mathematical explorations unveiled elegant, abstract patterns that lay beneath seemingly practical problems, revealing a subtle harmony suggestive of deeper truths. In astronomy, His meticulous observations exposed vast celestial systems and rhythmic patterns, astonishing in their precision, yet comprehensible through human intellect. To him, working with numbers and stars wasn't a purely intellectual pursuit. It was a means of connecting with eternal principles. He drew deep meaning from the idea that human awareness could partially grasp the intricate framework of the universe. This fusion of scientific inquiry and spiritual insight formed the foundation of his entire philosophy. In his poetry, Khayyam emerges as someone who found sacred meaning in life's most basic experiences, sharing a meal, engaging in conversation, or observing the natural world. When he wrote about bread and wine, he wasn't glorifying sensory pleasure alone. He was honoring these moments as reflections of our capacity to be present, to connect, and to appreciate existence. Similarly, his musings on blooming flowers and their eventual decay were more than poetic images. They embodied a profound understanding of life's impermanence. For Khayyam, the fleeting nature of all things was not something to mourn, but a vital part of the greater rhythm of life, a cycle of birth, dissolution, and renewal. Through full immersion in the present, he showed that even the most unremarkable moments could become portals to deeper insight, as long as we approach them with awareness rather than distraction. At the heart of his philosophy was a deep respect for consciousness itself, a phenomenon he viewed as both extraordinary and deeply mysterious. His knowledge of the universe's vastness and the complexity of natural systems only intensified his awe that matter could give rise to beings capable of thought, feeling, and self-reflection. This awareness transformed even mundane experiences into sacred encounters. For Khayyam, the very fact that the cosmos evolved conscious beings, able to recognize beauty, pursue truth, and create meaning, was a continual source of astonishment. From this perspective, every moment of awareness carried spiritual weight, simply because the existence of consciousness was, in itself, a profound miracle. By weaving together scientific thought and poetic vision, Khayyam crafted a worldview in which the individual and the cosmic were inseparably linked. He saw seasonal changes not just as shifts in weather, but as reflections of the same cycles that guide planetary orbits and the evolution of stars. Even death, in his view, was not an isolated event, but a step within nature's ongoing dance of transformation. Far from stripping the sacred of its mystery, his scientific knowledge deepened his reverence. He was captivated by how personal experience could mirror universal principles, revealing the intricate interplay between human life and the vast mechanisms of the cosmos. This sacred outlook permeated not only his art and science, but also his daily work. Whether engaged in calculations or observing the heavens, Khayyam approached his tasks as meaningful interactions with the hidden order of existence. His role as a teacher and collaborator was not just a professional identity, it was a way of contributing to humanity's collective journey toward greater understanding. Even the most routine aspects of his work took on spiritual significance when seen through the lens of a larger mission, one that united his personal endeavors with the timeless pursuit of wisdom and meaning. In living this way, Khayyam demonstrated that nothing in life is trivial. Everything, no matter how small, can be infused with a sense of purpose, depth, and reverence. This perspective encourages the development of what might be called a sacramental way of seeing, a refined awareness that uncovers deeper significance within ordinary moments, rather than viewing them as purely utilitarian or material. Khayyam cultivated this ability, approaching the most mundane aspects of life with a sense of attention and reverence, akin to what is often reserved for religious or spiritual rituals. Over time, he came to understand that the sacred is not bound by specific rituals, locations, or moments in time. Instead, it can emerge in any context, provided we learn to truly see and value what surrounds us. This expansive view made spiritual insight a constant possibility, not something dependent on extraordinary experiences or exclusive settings. Khayyam's vision also encompassed the spiritual dimensions of human connection and collective life. He rejected the idea that spirituality is confined to solitary reflection or private devotion. His poetry on friendship reflects this belief, highlighting how genuine relationships are part of a larger, interconnected reality, a network of love and mutual understanding that links each person to something greater than themselves. His appreciation for shared experiences, conversation, meals, creative collaboration reflected his recognition that community itself is a sacred expression. It revealed our ability to reach beyond the limits of individual consciousness and touch something more universal. By giving thoughtful care to the quality of his interactions, Khayyam discovered layers of sacred meaning within the social fabric of everyday life, enriching his own spiritual journey while offering something meaningful to others. Today, his approach serves as a valuable guide for anyone seeking spiritual fulfillment amid the ordinary rhythms of modern living. In an age where spiritual depth is often tied to formal rituals, dramatic experiences, or institutional belief systems, Khayyam's life proposes another possibility. That profound meaning already exists in the experiences we often take for granted. It simply needs to be noticed. This change in perspective has the power to transform routine existence into a source of ongoing wonder, gratitude, and presence. It begins with mindful attention to what is familiar, learning to recognize the beauty and significance that often pass unnoticed. When you eat, for instance, pause to appreciate the remarkable journey through which sunlight and soil become sustenance, and reflect on the miracle by which your body turns that nourishment into life and awareness. When you interact with others, remain open to the profound mystery of communication, the astonishing fact that we can bridge the inner world of one mind with another. As you work or engage in creative challenges, consider that your efforts are part of a wider human quest for meaning, innovation, and progress. Simultaneously, cultivate an awareness of how your individual life is intricately woven into the broader ecological and cultural systems that shape both your world and your identity. Like Khayyam, you can allow scientific understanding to amplify your sense of the sacred rather than diminish it by recognizing how your own consciousness participates in the vast unfolding of the universe and how your daily choices contribute to the ongoing evolution of human thought and collective existence. Such a shift in vision can imbue even the simplest experience with reverence and appreciation. It offers a kind of meaning and purpose grounded not in the extraordinary, but in the richness of everyday life. The goal is not to flee from the ordinary, but to discover the hidden depths of meaning and wonder that have been there all along, waiting for you to truly see them. Part 24. Nurturing Patience in the Pursuit of Long-Term Aspirations. Omar Khayyam embodied a rare form of perseverance, particularly in confronting complex long-term intellectual challenges, endeavors that frequently required not just years, but sometimes decades of sustained focus and dedication before any substantial results became evident. He understood deeply that groundbreaking insights and lasting contributions are seldom the product of fleeting inspiration. Rather, they unfold gradually through continuous refinement and a steady accumulation of knowledge. His approach to ambitious, long-range goals was far from passive. Khayyam did not wait idly for breakthroughs to occur. Instead, he remained deeply engaged with every phase of the process. He valued small steps forward, fully aware that even the slightest progress could replenish momentum and maintain enthusiasm when the finish line seemed distant. This intentional and steady patience gave him the resilience to pursue projects others might have abandoned in exasperation. His capacity for sustained effort enabled him to delve into complexities that hurried minds would have skimmed past, offering a lasting lesson for anyone aiming to achieve something of enduring significance. One of the clearest illustrations of this intellectual endurance is found in Khayyam's work in mathematics. His quest to construct geometric solutions to cubic equations extended over many years and involved meticulous experimentation with a range of methods and frameworks. Rather than giving up after early setbacks or slow progress, he pressed on with analytical precision. His patient, iterative efforts revealed mathematical patterns and relationships that were invisible at the outset. The breakthroughs he eventually achieved were not born of sudden inspiration, but of disciplined and persistent inquiry. This same unwavering commitment defined his work in astronomy. The impressive accuracy of his calculations regarding the solar year was not the outcome of a single revelation, but the culmination of long-term, careful observation and repeated corrections of prior errors. His contributions to calendar reform were the product of extensive cooperation with fellow scholars and years of testing theoretical models against observable astronomical data. Such success was only possible through a willingness to commit to a vision far beyond the scope of quick results or immediate gratification. Central to Khayyam's effectiveness was his skill in breaking down formidable challenges into manageable components. He tackled vast mathematical problems by dissecting them into a series of smaller, solvable tasks, each offering tangible insights and milestones. These intermediate achievements served as stepping stones toward greater theoretical discoveries. In his astronomical work, even daily measurements and routine calculations held value in their own right, while simultaneously feeding into a broader understanding of celestial rhythms. This methodical piece-by-piece approach made overwhelming goals feel achievable, sustaining his drive and ensuring continual forward motion. Equally important was his ability to remain grounded during times of delay or ambiguity. Khayyam understood that intellectual progress does not follow a straight or predictable path. Periods of advancement may be punctuated by stretches of stagnation or even apparent regression. He did not mistake these quieter moments for failure, but rather saw them as intrinsic to the process of mastering complexity. This long-view perspective allowed him to endure temporary setbacks without losing sight of his long-term purpose. Much of this steadfast patience stemmed from his ability to find fulfillment within the journey itself. Khayyam did not rely solely on the completion of lofty goals for a sense of accomplishment. Instead, he drew satisfaction from the very act of exploration. His love for abstract reasoning and problem-solving made mathematics a source of internal reward, even when answers remained elusive. Likewise, his nightly observations of the heavens brought him moments of awe and delight, enriching his intellectual life regardless of their eventual scientific payoff. Omar Khayyam's legacy offers a compelling model for how patience, when coupled with strategy, perseverance, and intrinsic motivation, becomes an active and powerful driver of progress. His life reminds us that meaningful achievement often grows not from haste, but from a steady, enduring commitment to the work itself. A deep well of internal motivation fueled his enduring commitment over time. Instead of depending solely on outside validation or major achievements, his drive stemmed from a genuine connection to pursuits that resonated deeply with him. By investing in a variety of long-term interests, he developed a flexible form of perseverance. When he hit a dead end in one domain, perhaps while wrestling with a complex mathematical issue, he could shift his attention to another passion, like stargazing or writing poetry, where inspiration flowed more easily. During periods when external circumstances disrupted his scientific efforts, he turned inward, channeling his energy into philosophical thought and writing. These intellectual detours allowed him to continue evolving, albeit along a different trajectory. Because his ambition stretched across multiple disciplines, he was rarely left without a meaningful outlet. Even when specific goals were delayed or blocked, there was always another purpose that commanded his attention. His long-term vision was anchored in a realistic grasp of what could be accomplished within a single lifetime, given the natural constraints of time and resources. He understood that while an individual's contributions could be significant, they were also inevitably limited, and that truly lasting progress often unfolded across generations, relying on the shared labor of many. This awareness liberated him to focus on offering his most valuable contributions during his own life, while accepting that the larger mission would require others to carry the work forward. Rather than being disheartened by the boundaries of personal achievement, he found fulfillment in participating in endeavors that exceeded the scope of any one individual's lifespan or abilities. His philosophy holds powerful relevance today, particularly as we navigate a world increasingly shaped by the demand for immediate success and rapid gratification. Modern culture often promotes unrealistic timelines for meaningful accomplishments, leading people to walk away from worthwhile pursuits when initial progress appears slow. Digital platforms and social media amplify tales of overnight success, skewing our expectations and obscuring the reality that most impactful work emerges from prolonged, sustained effort. In contrast, Khayyam's life reminds us that significant and lasting achievements usually take root over many years, sometimes lifetimes, not in sudden, effortless bursts. To follow in his footsteps, begin by choosing goals that resonate personally and that you are prepared to commit to over a long horizon, whether that means several months, years, or even decades. These might involve mastering a demanding skill, pursuing a creative vision like writing a novel or producing art, deepening relationships, growing intellectually or emotionally, or contributing meaningfully to a cause or community. For each major ambition, develop practical strategies that translate the broader vision into smaller, achievable milestones. These short-term objectives offer a sense of progress and help maintain momentum while reinforcing the larger purpose. Create systems to recognize and celebrate each step forward, however modest, as a way to sustain motivation over time. Central to this process is cultivating intrinsic motivation, deriving satisfaction from the journey itself rather than from accolades or final outcomes. Like Khayyam, aim to fully engage with the everyday tasks that advance your goals, and take pleasure in the insights, growth, and transformation that emerge along the way. Remain rooted in a clear, honest understanding of how long genuine achievement takes, and resist cultural pressures that equate speed with success. Patience in long-term pursuits isn't about passivity. It's an active form of dedication, an ongoing commitment to meaningful work that unfolds at its own pace because its value lies in its depth, not its speed. Part 25. Creating a Legacy Through Genuine Contribution. Omar Khayyam's far-reaching influence across disciplines and centuries demonstrates the profound effect that can emerge when a person devotes themselves to what truly fascinates them. Instead of chasing recognition or deliberately trying to leave a legacy, Khayyam immersed himself in the subjects that stirred his intellect and imagination. Nearly 9 centuries after his death, his advancements in mathematics still shape the foundations of modern algebra, and his contributions to astronomy continue to influence calendar systems today. His poetry also continues to move readers around the world. This enduring resonance wasn't the outcome of a calculated attempt to be remembered, but rather the organic result of work born from deep curiosity, intellectual honesty, and a drive to express himself with authenticity. Khayyam's life serves as a testament to the idea that the most lasting legacies grow out of the depth and sincerity of our present efforts, not from a pursuit of future fame. His mathematical achievements were driven by a personal passion for solving intricate problems, not by a desire to gain prestige or elevate his reputation. His pioneering exploration of cubic equations through geometric methods marked a major advancement in algebraic thought. Yet he pursued these ideas out of genuine fascination, not ambition. The enduring value of his work lies in its originality and depth, rather than any intention to leave a mark. Through his dedication to uncovering mathematical truths, Khayyam revealed concepts that would benefit generations of scholars long after his era. Similarly, his astronomical achievements were motivated by a heartfelt quest to understand the cosmos and refine humanity's measurement of time, not by any need for acknowledgement as a visionary. His precise calculation of the solar year and the enduring utility of the Jalali calendar underscore his commitment to accuracy and thoughtful inquiry. These accomplishments stemmed from his relentless pursuit of understanding and his desire to meet practical human needs, rather than from any attempt to craft a lasting legacy. His impact in astronomy was a natural extension of the care and precision he brought to his work, not a result of self-promotion. Even more striking is the example provided by his poetry, which highlights how deeply honest artistic expression can resonate across cultures and centuries. The Rubaiyat, his most celebrated poetic work, was shaped by personal reflection on themes like mortality, ambiguity, beauty, and meaning. He didn't write to reach a global audience, but to explore and express his own contemplations, drawn from the world around him. Yet the emotional honesty and philosophical richness of his verses gave them the power to transcend time and cultural boundaries. People from vastly different eras and backgrounds have discovered their own experiences mirrored in his poetry. Its widespread translation and lasting popularity are testaments to the strength of authentic creativity over calculated relevance. Khayyam's influence as a thinker is perhaps the most nuanced, as it wasn't encapsulated in a single philosophical system, but expressed through the integration of his work in science, math, and poetry. He continually sought to balance reason and feeling, to confront the unknown with honesty, and to find significance in transient beauty. These efforts continue to resonate with modern readers confronting similar existential challenges. His philosophical legacy wasn't the product of building a formal ideology, but of living thoughtfully and authentically in a world filled with uncertainty. His life reveals how diverse areas of knowledge can be brought into harmony, and how multiple aspects of the human experience can be embraced with coherence and depth. In the end, Khayyam's enduring influence illustrates that genuine, passionate work naturally transcends the limits of time, culture, and discipline. Because his efforts were guided by a sincere engagement with essential questions about mathematics, time, purpose, and beauty, they have continued to matter across different civilizations and fields of study. His groundbreaking mathematical ideas advanced knowledge in regions unfamiliar with Persian literature. Simultaneously, his reflective poetry on mortality and meaning touched readers who knew nothing of his scientific endeavors. This wide-ranging impact arose not from cultural targeting or self-conscious strategy, but from his focus on universal truths and enduring human concerns. Khayyam's lasting influence serves as a testament to the power of creating under pressure. Even in the midst of political unrest, religious suppression, and social resistance, any of which could have silenced his voice, he produced ideas and works that have stood the test of time. His life exemplifies how a deep commitment to truth, beauty, and understanding can rise above even the most restrictive circumstances. What Khayyam accomplished did not emerge from a desire for recognition or from waiting for the perfect moment. Instead, it was driven by a profound inner curiosity and a personal dialogue with the questions that mattered most to him. The enduring relevance of his contributions came from this internal motivation, not from any external validation or supportive environment. Indeed, his story reveals a striking paradox. Those who strive to be remembered often fade into obscurity, while those who pursue excellence for its own sake frequently leave the most lasting mark. Though he was aware of reputation and legacy, Khayyam never allowed them to distract from his central purpose, to express truth with precision and beauty. This clear sense of priorities allowed him to uphold authenticity and depth over popularity or immediate success. As a result, the work he produced spoke across boundaries of time and culture, resonating with diverse audiences for generations. His legacy was not the product of a strategic plan to be remembered, but rather the natural consequence of offering something truly valuable to the world. Today, his life stands as a powerful example for anyone striving to make meaningful contributions through their efforts. In an era dominated by instant feedback and constant visibility, it's easy to become preoccupied with metrics of approval, likes, shares, and brief attention spans. We often find ourselves focusing more on how our work will be received than on what it truly expresses. Khayyam's life urges us to resist this pull, reminding us that the pursuit of approval can dilute the very depth that makes our work meaningful in the first place. Instead, we are better served by immersing ourselves in the questions, projects, and creative impulses that genuinely move us, those pursuits that hold personal significance regardless of the outcome. When we bring steady effort and a love for quality to these endeavors, we nurture authenticity and substance. From such sincere commitment, worthwhile contributions will arise, perhaps not immediately, but enduringly. As Khayyam's life shows, the most impactful legacies are not built through an obsession with how we'll be remembered, but through attention to the honesty and integrity of what we're doing right now. Monumental fame or groundbreaking discoveries aren't prerequisites for meaningful impact. What matters is that you apply your full effort, insight, and individuality to the tasks and challenges before you. Whether your path lies in science, art, business, community service, or the quiet strength of your personal relationships, the true weight of your work will be measured by the depth of your engagement and the sincerity you bring to it, not by its scale or public visibility. Khayyam's example reminds us that genuine contributions in any domain can create lasting effects far beyond our sight or control. The goal isn't eternal fame, it's to take part, while we can, in humanity's collective journey toward wisdom, compassion, truth, and beauty. That is a legacy worth striving for.